Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the next part and the final part of our Oscars 2025 special. We spoke yesterday, and in part one, of course, if you're watching this one, about the other categories, but we're now going into kind of the meat and bones of the Oscars, the more high profile categories, I suppose. Today we're going to be talking about best supporting actor, best actress, best actor, best director, and best picture. We don't have to talk about worst picture this time, so I'm sure both of you guys are very, very happy with that. I know I certainly am.
Thrilled. Yeah.
Right. Well, let's just again let's not have any fluff. I'm not fluffing right now, and we'll go straight into the first category, which is going to be the best supporting actor. So the nominees are Yura Borisov in Anora, Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain, Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce in The Brutalist, and then Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. So let's kick off with Yura Borisov for Anora. Collie, do you want to kick us off with his performance?
Yeah, absolutely. Just first and foremost, I thought his performance was brilliant. It was actually quite a surprising one, I thought, because you first encounter him with the other henchman, I guess you could say, at the Russian oligarch mansion, and for some reason I just thought he was going to be the background guy, and then the other guy was going to be the main guy. But obviously, as the story develops, especially like the relationship between him and Honora, I think it's really, really great. I've never seen him in anything before. But I thought it was just really understated. I think, don't get me wrong, I really liked the performance, but I think if Honora wasn't as good of a film, it might not have been nominated, perhaps. Um, but from turning around from being somebody that is perceived as one of the bad guys, and then that final scene when they're sitting in the car together, I think it is a brilliant performance.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. Because I think he looks like a background guy, doesn't he? Like the typical kind of Eastern European sort of henchman sort of dude. But yeah, it's a very understated performance, and like the kind of almost the arc that he goes through as well from when we first see him to as you say, that final scene in the car. Like that scene was really affecting, and I loved that. I also loved when he kind of stood up for Anora a little bit as well. You could like tell that he was like getting more and more on her side as things went on, even though he was obviously getting employed by or like he was kind of in with the family that was giving him a job, I suppose. I thought, yeah, I agree. I think it was a really good performance, a really understated one. Todd, thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, understated's the word. I think because at first where they break into the house and stuff, and it was a weird mix of like slapstick and just awful. Like there were like what was happening to her was horrible, but how they were dealing with it was really over the top and slapstick. And I was a bit like, oh, it's a weird one. Like you say, I think on a rewatch as well, I really appreciated him more. It's the bit on the steps of the
Mm-hmm.
plane for me is where I was like, yeah, this is his performance here, where like he's in the background. At no point is he actually like talking for most of it. I know he has like a couple of lines in it, but it's where yeah, he's just in the background, kind of like you can see his reactions and stuff, and he's that caring character. He's a bit of a prick as well. Like obviously, like she said, he assaults him. But I love the conversation in the house as well at the end. Between I think he nails that. Like we'll get to Mikey Madison obviously, and their chemistry's really good. Or again, like that sort of fire between them. But when she talks about him having like, she says you've got rape eyes, and he's like raped eyes. What is raped? And he genuinely doesn't get what she means. Like so there was like a vulnerability to him. I really, really enjoyed it, like his performance. I'm with you, Collie, in that I think if Honora hadn't have been as good, would we still be talking about it? And like probably not. But I think would Honora have been as effective if he didn't add that little bit of heart to it? Which I think, yeah, he deserves to be here definitely, and I think he's somebody to watch. Definitely somebody to watch.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain. Todd, what do you think of his performance in there?
Like, I just imagine that this is Kieran Culkin playing Kieran Culkin, like, and I love that. But for me, he blew me away. Um, it hit every emotional beat. I like Jesse Eisenberg, and I think the script is phenomenal. For such a sort of like nothing really happens. It's like that idea of like a slice of life stuff. Kieran Culkin for me is the driving force behind this film that makes me want to rewatch it. And I think we focus a lot on drama at the Oscars, and there is some good dramatic moments. But it was in the trailer, and it was so much more fleshed out in the film. Is the bit at the big statue where he's like getting everybody involved, and he's the guy that everybody wants to be around. Like, I love that, and I just love like the little throwaway lines, like his delivery, his pace is phenomenal. I have a soft spot for Kieran Culkin since he played Wallace Wells. Like, I think if anybody like embodies a role, it's him. So since then, I've loved him, and I know we'll get to this again. But I've never watched Succession. I know that's like I should, but this is where I'm coming from. Is literally Wallace Wells and this. Yeah, he's amazing.
Collie?
Yeah, so just to echo on Todd's last thing, that I've never watched Succession either, so I had like no preconceptions about him apart from like clips that I've seen, and then obviously it's his public perception. I thought he was amazing in this. Definitely spot on with touching on the script there. I think the script's so well written and like so tight, and it's like you say, it's his delivery. It's when they're introducing each other, and the Rwandan guy is saying what, and just halfway like he's oh fuck, and like it's just he's really like socially not rude, I would say, but like just he just has no filter. He just has no filter, and you can see why. On one hand, the husband of that couple that are on it is getting annoyed at him, but I can also see why he's so endearing to others, because it's like such a heavy trip that they're on, and they're all on it for various reasons. So I guess he does kind of live in the like the harshness of it. There's a few standout scenes for me from him. Obviously the one when he not confronts, but like raises it to the tour guide. Mm-hmm. This is just all facts and numbers and stuff like that, and you can see his point, but also like the tour guide's just there to guide people around at the end of the day. So was it Will Sharp that plays the tour guide? I think I did see in a bit of a trivia that originally Eisenberg had wrote it for Richard Ayoade, and he's like, nah, that'd be too distracting, because I guess he's known to be more comedic. And I've never seen White Lotus, so I don't know Will Sharp from that or anything, which is one of his more prominent roles. But I thought his interaction, and then subsequently the interaction between the two of them, when he's like, oh thanks, nobody's ever given me feedback, and he's just like, oh, what do you mean? He was like, he'd like either forgotten it or whatever. But yeah, really endearing performance. Can understand why he's getting every single award. I'm disappointed in a way that A Real Pain's not highlighted either in a few of the other categories. Sorry, that we'll come to. But for our only opportunity to talk about it, loved the film. There were so many standout moments. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what Eisenberg does in the future, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Massey, what was your thoughts on Culkin, and then just A Real Pain in general?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with what you're saying. It's so endearing, because he it can easily come across sarcastic, but he comes across as like earnest, and like he genuinely feels that way, and he wears his heart on his sleeve, which I think is again, it seems like that's what Kieran Culkin is like. I don't know if you've seen some of his acceptance speeches from some of the awards that he's got, and he just I think someone on TikTok called him just a yapper, and he just like chats, and he's just such an endearing person, and I think that shows in the performance as well. And you're right, the bit with the tour guide, and they're he kind of takes away the sort of the darkness of where they are. They're in the middle of a graveyard talking about people that have died and things, and he's always trying to kind of help it be a bit more upbeat or lighten the mood a bit, and it's a fantastic performance. Yeah, the other thing about the bit of the bus towards the end, when the tour guide's thanking him and stuff, and then turns and says, I think he says like, bye Dave, or something like that. Apparently that was ad-libbed. Like Jesse Eisenberg didn't expect that. So I seen an interview where Jesse Eisenberg was like, oh, he's ruined the take. And then they went back and watched it, like, that's absolutely perfect. Like, they've had this whole conversation with Kieran Culkin's character, and then turned to Jesse Eisenberg and just almost dismissed him, which I thought was great. But yeah, it's a lovely, heartwarming story, and you're right. I think the script is part of the reason that it's so not easy to watch, but like you don't ever feel too hung up with the subject matter. So I really enjoyed that. I also, and this is just a bit on the kind of rest of the film, I didn't realize it was the lady. It was Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing. Like I did not clock her at all. Like I know she'd had like plastic surgery for her nose and stuff when she was younger, but like I didn't clock it was her at all until reading the cast list. So that was kind of a strange one, but yeah, no, I thought they were great, and I thought the relationship with Jesse Eisenberg's character and Kieran Culkin was absolutely spot on.
Yeah, it's the scene when they're like first like interacting, obviously, like in the airport. It's just manic. The one that was made me laugh so much was you've got really nice feet and you've got grandma's feet and stuff like that. That was just so like, and he's like, "Oh, can I have your phone to listen to music?" Do you not have a phone? Yeah, but it doesn't play music. It just, and I guess that speaks to obviously to Eisenberg's script, but the way that Culkin portrays it, he's just like bending over and looking at his feet and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, he's just like, oh, they're completely straight and all that kind of stuff. It's just hilarious. It's just really funny. But on the other hand, when they're actually at the camp and obviously they're just walking around and there's not much discussions or anything, or there's no discussions, but there's not much dialogue, and then it just cuts to him breaking down on the bus. I thought that did show good range because he as much as he was playing the off the wall character, I think you said it right, Massey. Ernest is really good. Not afraid to speak his mind, but obviously it's like he does have an emotional bandwidth as well. He's not cold or anything like that, which is impressive to play both ends of that.
Completely agree. Anything else we want to talk about Real Pain, because this is kind of the last time we speak about it, isn't it? So
I'll probably mention it in a few snubs later on, but apart from that, in terms of breaking it down, no, I'm fine.
I just hope it gets the recognition for the script. I know it's been nominated, but I really do. I think it's not been recognised anywhere else.
He won something last night, I'm sure, for it.
Was it SAG Awards last night? Or the Spirit Awards? It was one
Spirit
of the
Awards, I think it was.
Spirit Awards.
Because obviously Emma Stone's a producer on this, so he was thanking her in the speech and stuff because of that.
I think she was quite pivotal in getting him cast. I think, wasn't she? If I remember correctly, because I think they dated.
She was pivotal in getting the whole thing done.
Yeah, but like specifically getting him cast as the role because they dated.
Kieran
Culkin. Sorry, yeah.
No, it was Eisenberg's sister or something. Oh, like
was it?
Yeah, it was Eisenberg's sister, and I think because Jesse Eisenberg hadn't seen him in anything or something like that. It's a weird like word of mouth thing.
Oh, okay. Surely you'd seen him in Home Alone, no? When he's
that's not
coke at that table.
He's why he was getting Macaulay.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll move on to the next one. Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown. Todd, thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, I think similar to Supporting Actress for A Complete Unknown. I think it was one person's film with Elle Fanning backing it up. I thought Ed Norton was very good. I don't know who, like the actual character who he's playing. Like I have no level of reference to say, oh, that's a really good portrayal. Like we were just, I said before about seeing A Complete Unknown again, and like I don't really listen to Bob Dylan that much, but I know he is, and I know you can see that it's a good portrayal or whatever. I couldn't see that with Ed Norton. I was expecting him to be the bastard. I was expecting him to be like a sort of, to turn on Bob Dylan. I thought that was the way that it was going, and I liked that it didn't. I know that's more the script. It was more just in that final sort of big performance where he's trying to shut everything off and he's stressing. I loved seeing that level of Ed Norton. I thought he was very good. I just don't think it was. I think there's levels in this category, and I think I don't think he's in there as like a legacy one or like a sort of a career one. But he was good. He was fine, but I don't think he was anything. I think there's other people who could have had the nomination.
I think you're right with the type of character he was. I wonder if that's the reason that it's not as high in terms of who's going to win the best supporting actor, because his character was such a nice guy and didn't have much in terms of, like, I'm not saying range, but he was nice all the way throughout. Maybe if he had a turn or something and shown a bit of a darker side, then potentially. But I thought he was good. I really enjoyed his performance. You're right. I think it was almost subversive, the fact that he didn't have that turn and that he was just a nice guy throughout.
Mhm.
And some of the scenes of him just watching Bob Dylan playing and listening to his music, I thought like he conveyed a lot with his eyes and his expressions. And yeah, I agree. I think it was a good performance. But there's definitely stronger ones within the category for me. Collie?
Yeah, I thought he was good, not great. I kind of do think it is a bit of a legacy one for him. When you think of some of his more standout ones for me, stuff like Fight Club, American History X, even Birdman, stuff like that. Like I think he's performed better, and I think it's because Complete Unknown seems to have been really liked by the Academy. He's potentially got in there. We'll get to the snubs at the end. I think there's 3 that I've got written down that could definitely have, at least 2, I think should have got in ahead of him. So, well, I'm glad he's nominated. I think he's a great actor. I do enjoy him. In this, he was more just there to support Chalamet as Bob Dylan. I think, and as a supporting actor, I guess that's your job. But I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh my god, wow, Edward Norton's like doing some of his best work." He was just, like I say, good, not great.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, on to the second last one in the category, Guy Pearce in The Brutalist. Collie, thoughts on Guy Pearce?
And just on the back of saying that, that wasn't Edward Norton's best work, I think this is Guy Pearce's best work potentially. I thought he was unbelievable. When you first see him obviously storming in and kicking off about the library and that, you're like, oh god, he's just going to play like an angry kind of character. And then it just like the way his warmth towards Adrian Brody, Laszlo, is it? Yeah. Like as he tries to get him back on board to build this building for him, all the way to obviously the nasty stuff in Italy. There's that shot of him like looking down on the party. I thought that was just like, he's not doing anything per se, but he's just looking so sinister in that. And then we discussed it briefly yesterday, but the kind of confrontation in the dining room towards the end, I think he's just so sinister. I think is a good word to describe it. But this is Pearce's best work. He's an actor I've loved for a lot of things, but when he got nominated for this and has done in numerous other award shows, I think it's very, very well deserving.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. There's also a few moments where it's actually after Felicity Jones turns up, because the first half it's quite a collaborative kind of relationship that him and Adrian Brody have. But then when Felicity Jones turns up, obviously Laszlo's wife, there's a couple of times where he undermines Laszlo, like it's not like crazy out there. He's not like shouting at him or, but like he's like throws like a penny at him and stuff about cleaning. I think he says about cleaning shoes or something like that, and it's just like an undermining kind of attitude he has towards him that we'd never really seen that side of it before in terms of relationship. And that's when you can start to see things sort of like turn in that way. And I thought it was a really subtle way of showing how the relationship kind of became a lot more, the power dynamic kind of shifted quite a bit. And I thought Pearce's performance, I agree with yourself, like there's a few other things that Pearce has done, obviously like Iron Man 3, but like in this one he was just unbelievable. Like I thought it was absolutely spot on his performance. Todd?
Yeah, I'm with you. Best thing he's done, and was probably my favorite part of this film, along with how it looked. He was, again, I don't mean to put expectations on the type of actor that he is, but as soon as he come in and he was ranting and raving in the library and kicking them out, I thought we were going to get a similar character to what he played in Lawless. That sort of sniveling, like entitled little prick. And then obviously when he was sorry,
It's just a lot of venom in your voice there.
Yeah, I hate him in that film. Like he's amazing, but I hate him in that film. But yeah, like, and then when he meets Laszlo at it's like the quarry, isn't it, where he's working? He's like, come with me, and talking about his work and stuff. I thought, oh, it was a nice little like bait and switch, I suppose, because then you're like, actually, he's not the antagonist of this film. He's not the guy that's gonna ruin Laszlo's life, and obviously, very different. Yeah, I thought he was amazing. I'm with you on that. It's his best work, and I love how differently he treats every single person in that film. Like you can see the game playing uh, on his face. Like as soon as he starts turning, you know what's happening. I didn't expect him to attack Laszlo in the way that he did. I didn't see that coming at all. And I thought that was really well. Uh, I'll get to it in terms of the film itself, but in terms of his performance and him doing that, I thought that was so well handled. Like it was like he was nothing.
Mhm.
It was as in the performance from Guy Pearce. It treated him like he was nothing, and it was just devastating, but phenomenally done. Yeah. For me, best work he's done.
Definitely. Okay, the final one in the best supporting actor, we have Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. Collie, thoughts on Jeremy Strong?
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant. Especially like from my first viewing, but I rewatched it yesterday, and just focused on obviously the two roles specifically that we're going to be, or two people that we're going to be discussing today, rather. Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. He kind of just plays this sleazy kind of no holds barred, no kind of apologies, solicitor, a lawyer. But the scene that stood out for me yesterday, just to touch on one particular, is when he confronts Trump later on, and he's all ill, and he doesn't, like, he's trying to move closer to Trump, and he's backing away in that. And he's like, "Oh, you've lost your last piece of is it decency or humanity?" He says one of the two. But yeah, Jeremy Strong's like well known to be a method actor, and he like fully threw himself into this role, and I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the way that he kind of hid his sexuality as well was such an interesting point of it, and it just shows that like his whole thing was about like having power or like not being seen a certain way, which is kind of a running theme in the film, I suppose. But yeah, I thought his performance was unbelievable. From when we first meet him and when he's kind of mentoring a young protege in sort of Donald Trump in that little bar, and he's like kind of, again, it's like the power dynamic. He's like got his hand on his thigh and stuff, and like almost showing that he's above him, and then getting to that point, as you say, in it's the opening of the hotel, or the opening of Trump Tower, isn't it? When they kind of they meet again, and he's obviously sick, and the power dynamic has shifted, but he doesn't ever want that. And then even the phone call he has with Trump towards the end, when he's like in his deathbed and stuff, and he's still trying to keep up appearances through the phone call stuff as well. I thought it was a really, really good performance, phenomenal from Jeremy Strong, and an actor that I've liked in some other things, but I'm like you guys have not seen Succession, so I don't really have that affinity to him. So it was good to see him properly be like a big player in this sort of film. Todd?
Yeah, he's a bit of a chameleon, Jeremy Strong, in that like I couldn't tell you. I've looked through his IMDb, and he's in a lot, and he's in a lot that I've seen, but I couldn't tell you like those standout big performances. But he was amazing in this. That deterioration where like from having so much power, and like those little looks at while Trump's talking to somebody else, those little looks over as if to be like, he's mine, that's my project type thing, was incredible. And it was the phone call for me. He was outside. I can't remember. He was outside, and he was like, as he was getting more and more ill, and just that breakdown of the character was really, really well done. It was somebody that like, I don't know. I didn't expect it to be anything. The Apprentice. I didn't, as a film itself. I know we'll talk about it more with Sebastian Stan, but like I didn't expect anything from it. I thought it's just going to be like a bit of a, I don't know. I hadn't heard much about it. I thought it was going to be a nothing, and I think he was one of the driving forces behind how powerful the film was. But yeah, he was excellent.
Good stuff. Okay, before we kind of go on to rating, do you want to go through snubs I think Collie, you said there's a couple of snubs. I mean, certainly just for myself, there was one that I was thinking potentially could have been in, and that was I've got his name here, Karen Karagulian, the guy that plays Toros in Anora, the kind of handler guy. I would have quite liked to have seen him getting a bit of not necessarily a win, but at least some sort of nomination or something. I would have thought. But I think Collie, you said there's a couple that have seen it for yourself.
I've got 3, so Todd can maybe. Have you got any, Todd?
The only one for me would be Clarence Macklin for Sing Sing.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
that is an absolute, like, when we're talking about stuff, it's like, oh, maybe this one could be in here. He should be in there. That would be my one.
Yeah, 100%. He's nominated for adapted screenplay, I think. So
Right.
he is nominated for that, but yeah, definitely should have been nominated for supporting actor. I've got Javier Bardem in June 2 as well. I thought was excellent. And Skarsgård in Nosferatu. I thought he was amazing.
Yeah, good shout.
Rewatching that again on Friday with Percy, and it's the bit when he's talking down to Lily Rose Depp about the 3 nights thing, and even just his performance throughout, like when he's in his house with Nicholas Hoult and that. I thought he was amazing. I thought it would have been good for him to be recognised. Then again, though, I'm like, I don't really know who I would kick out. Maybe Edward Norton, perhaps, for one of them, but it's a pretty strong category.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Okay. A Real Pain. We're obviously not going to be talking about anymore. Do you want to go through our ratings for that then? Todd, what did you give A Real Pain on Letterboxd?
I went 4.5, but talking about it and on another watch, it might be a 5.
Collie?
Yeah, same as me.
I gave it 4, but I think it could be like 4.5 going forward for me as well. Okay, and then want to win and think will win. So Todd.
I want Kieran Culkin to win, and the way things are going, I think he'll take it.
Yeah, same for me. Collie?
Yeah, I'm the same, but I wouldn't begrudge it going to anybody apart from Norton, probably. I'd be happy with anybody.
Yeah, agree. Okay, great, fantastic. Right, let us move on to the first in the sort of the leadings. We have Best Actress. So the nominees for Best Actress are Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon in Emilia Perez, Mikey Madsen in Anora, Demi Moore in The Substance, and then Fernanda Torres in I'm Still Here. So first of all, Cynthia Erivo. Todd, take us away.
Yeah, so I liked Erivo's performance more than I did, and it's not that I disliked Ariana Grande's performance. I liked it more. I think it was more grounded, and we were talking just briefly about like musicals and how I feel about them, and I think that sort of campy, over the top stuff that happens in Wicked and Galinda is like that. Is like that right the way through. There was some moments that, like, forgotten the boy's name, in the forest when she's talking to the guy. I thought that was wonderful, and I know you two might talk about it a little bit more. I have no connection to Wicked whatsoever. Like, as in, I've never seen the stage show. I've not experienced it before this, and I still got goosebumps during Defying Gravity. Like, it's so clean in terms of how she delivers it. It's ridiculous. Like, if it was just based on a song, like, she'd deserve it. I still can't see that it's an Oscar-worthy performance. I just, and maybe that's my disconnect to the film. Maybe that's my disconnect. Like, the you talked about yesterday when she walks into the ball and everybody's looking at her, and the moment where she's like, she realizes she's been sort of tricked, and that little dance with the single tear and stuff was really touching and well done. I couldn't. If you said, is that an Oscar, I wouldn't say it was an Oscar-worthy performance. But I thought she was good, and I thought she was the best bit about the film in terms of the performance.
Fair enough. Collie?
Yeah, I thought she was excellent. Obviously, we touched quite a lot on her performance yesterday, talking about Ariana Grande's one, but I thought she was brilliant. Defying Gravity, like you say, Todd, was incredible. Like, so well done. But it was the dance sequence. It's her just like little idiosyncrasy stuff in Popular when they're singing that together in their room and that. No, just a very endearing performance, and it was cool to see her gain like confidence in terms of the character as well as Cynthia Erivo like throughout the film until like it's just the massive. I think I said it again yesterday, but the crescendo at the end of Defying Gravity. It's all been building towards that. Until her, like she kind of breaks free, I think, and Erivo delivered a really really good performance, and I've seen Wicked before, so like I went in knowing what happened, kind of, and roughly guessed where they would break it in terms of between the two films. So I think she's still got more to deliver in the second half, and I'm looking forward to that based on this.
Mhm. Yeah, same as you, Call. I really really enjoyed it. I it's hard to say that like I preferred Ariana Grande or Cynthia Erivo because I think they were both like they were both different, but I think they were both on the same level, and I think they both kind of helped each other with their chemistry and stuff as well. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. She's a very talented singer, like incredibly talented, and like if you ever seen interviews of her, and you know if she's given like an insight and stuff, she makes everything effortless, and it was really interesting to see her here. Also spoke about it before in Widows. She was great in that as well. Obviously made everything look effortless, especially the running after a bus for like 5 minutes straight. But no, I thought she was great in this. Added like had a, as you say, Collie, like I feel like had a bit more of an arc, like you could see the change in her throughout. But Defying Gravity is the absolute pinnacle. To be perfectly honest, I think it was phenomenal. I'd seen Wicked as well, so on the stage, and it'd be easy to compare them, but they're two different beasts. And I think she did a fantastic job. Talking about her singing again as well, there was a thing where she spoke about how as things go on in the film, her voice gets different. Like when she's singing, it's more airy and like positive, or yeah, optimistic at the start of the film, and it gets kind of more like defiant and pun intended, and a bit more powerful towards the end. And I think that without being obvious, I think it was like a subconscious kind of thing that helps you move her performance on. I think she was great. I really do. Okay, let's move on to the next nominee. So we have Carla Sofia Gascon and Emilia Perez. Collie?
I thought she was pretty crap, to be honest. I don't really understand why she's been nominated. Again, this is like, it's hard to discuss that performance without talking about Emilia Perez as a whole, but I just thought the makeup or whatever they were trying to go to for the first half of the film, or the first part of the film, for she transitions, I just thought it just looked really really shoddy.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it just seemed like amateur acting to me. And I know we're like shitting on this film quite a lot, and in my opinion rightfully so. And I know, Todd, I think you said on your review of one of the other films, I can't remember what one it is, Brutalist, maybe, when you're talking about how challengers, you're just like, maybe I just don't see what everybody else sees. And I just feel like that with Emilia Perez, but also like I feel validated because I know all three of us don't like it, but I sent you Mark Kermode's review, and Mark Kermode's like waxing lyrical about her performance especially, and all this stuff, and all the comments are just like, sorry Mark, like I concur with like so much that you say, but I just don't get this. And we'll get into the more like about the general film, but as a pure performance, I don't think there was anything in this that really really endeared me to her. There's kind of the kind of, I'm trying, like the unveiling that she is Emilia Perez, and like when they're at the table with Zoe Saldana, and I just don't think, it was just weird. It was just completely out of sync, and I just didn't buy much of it, to be completely honest. And she's a fucking piece of shit, so fuck her. To be honest. I can't believe there's rumors that she's going to turn up to the Oscars.
Yeah, I know.
Ridiculous.
I didn't know if we were going to go into that sort of stuff, but yeah.
Well, you know, I'm not going to go into it, but I just think she's a fucking piece of shit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like. We're not going to get cancelled for saying that, because like, just look at the tweets. There was a tweet that I seen yesterday. It was it Demi Moore? She did a performance at an award show. No, not Demi Moore. Demi Lovato. Sorry, she did a performance at an award show, and she quite, you know, famously gets quite a lot of hate online for her appearance in that, and they portrayed on the screens like all these tweets, people calling her fat and all that kind of stuff, and then she went on to perform a song, and somebody quote tweeted that going, "This is going to be Carla Sofia Gascon going up to the Oscars with all her tweets broadcast on the screens." But yeah, just even if all of that, if that had all came out, I would have been able to sit here and be like, objectively, it's a good performance. But I just, even prior to all that, I just don't think it's a good performance. Never mind an Oscar-worthy performance.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Totally agree. It's out of all. Okay, I was gonna say it's the weakest performance, but there is Selena Gomez there, so it's a terrible performance. I just don't get it. And you're right. I think we'll kind of go into it more with the film as a whole, but the whole thing around it for me just seems performative. It's not a good performance. Like you say, the makeup and stuff when she's Manitas, and the name as well, Manitas. Like, come on, it's just lazy. It's just terrible. And there's scenes where it's meant to be emotional, or it's meant to be something happening, like, spoiler alert, later when she's in the arms of Selena Gomez, where it's meant to be like a touching moment, and it just comes across as like amateur. Just there's nothing about it to me that evokes any emotion other than pure disdain. It's just I don't understand. I don't understand the whole thing behind her and Amelia Perez. But yeah. And again, well, we will talk about it more when it comes to the actual film. But Todd, what were your thoughts on Carla Sofia Gascon?
It was a dull performance. Like, there was no range. It was exactly the same right the way through, which was shite. Like, there was no sort of like, there's no, I can't think of, I'm with you, redeeming features. She was, yeah, just bland, and there's nothing there's nothing, like you say, at least with Zoe Saldana, when you're talking about physicality and like certain moments, there's things you can pick out. I don't understand it. I don't understand. If the love for the film was like, oh, it's a little bit like out there and it's trying things, and it's like, because it is, let's be honest, it's off the wall. Like, I could understand maybe the justification of nominating it for Best Picture. I wouldn't agree still. I still think it's dog shit right the way through. But like, I could understand the nomination. I don't get this nomination at all. There is no redeeming features. And I agree with everything you said. I think in particular, that first bit of the film was just strange, very strange. Yeah, don't get it at all.
It just touches as well on, obviously, the controversy around the tweets and things. I don't know if you saw, but there was a tweet where she actually like slagged off Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
But it was like folk had worked out that it would have been around the time that the contracts were signed and pre-production was started for Amelia Perez. So it's like you're shitting on your co-stars, but probably before you've even met them. I just don't get it.
But then she was like, she slagged off the Academy in that. Saying that it was like, like just pure diversity driven and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think like there was a lot of people being like, oh, she should be stripped of the nomination. A lot of people saying, nah, like they can't do that. But I was like, she's literally in these comments like targeted the Academy for being, virtue signaling, for lack of a better expression. And I think it would have been a good statement for them to be like, they stand up to people like not acting in, like, it's bringing not a disrepute, I guess, to the Academy. I feel in a way, having her still nominated, to be honest.
Agree.
But the Academy's a fucking shambles anyway.
Yeah. Why do you even do this?
Speaking briefly on that, like I enjoy doing this for the fact that it lets me see a lot of films that I wouldn't normally go out and see. But it does serve as a way to annoy me every year.
Yeah.
but then other people are like, why are you getting so annoyed about like, awards that are getting given to people that you'll never know or meet? And I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I like to see like good art rewarded. So
yeah, absolutely.
And her performance is not good art. So there we go.
It's
That's
art.
Bookended that. Let's move on.
Okay, so going from that performance to someone else, Mikey Madison playing Anora in the film Anora. Todd, thoughts on Mikey Madison?
I could watch this film on a loop, and it's because of her. Her performance is fucking. So the first time I liked it, and I've like that rewatch elevated it for me. There are moments in that, and I think the problem is a lot of people are saying that not a lot of people. People have said it's not an Oscar-worthy performance. That there are better performances. I feel like this is one of the most real and grounded performance. At no point do I think this isn't Honora, if that makes sense. Like, she embodies the character. Honora is a real person that we're just following around with the camera. That's how I feel. For me, the moment on the plane where does the man call her a hooker, or an escort or something along those lines? Yeah, an escort. That look of, she goes through about 3 different emotions. So she's devastated that she's categorized like that. Then she's wondering what she's doing there in that confusion. Then she's angry and she gets up. That for me was amazing. But even just at the beginning, like the feud with the ginger lass in the strip club, I thought was amazing. Where she's like, "Whatever, I'm going to go and chill in my mansion." But like, that sort of stuff was fantastic. It's one of those performances that I think will go down as one of the best of. Like, I just think it'll be one that'll be talked about for a long time, and I think it's because of how natural it is, how real it is. Grounded is the word I'll stick with. I thought she was phenomenal, and from nowhere. Sorry, just from nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, I've seen her in other things, but nothing like this. Yeah. Go on, Collie. Sorry,
Collie.
I absolutely agree. Blew me away. She should, have been nominated just based on the flawed marriage. Her big reaction when Toros accuses her of that, and that whole, we've talked about obviously with Yura Borisov's nomination, but that whole scene when they're out breaking into the mansion and what's his face, the husband runs away and leaves her with them, and she's just so funny in that, and it's such like a physical performance as well, not just in that, but obviously with the amount of effort that she did for all the dancing stuff, and then maybe the first third, and then it just becomes more and more serious as you go through. And then that final scene in the car again, and the shots between, like her face and then, is it Igor? Igor? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yura Borisov. Yeah. Like the back and forth between them is just unbelievable. And the cinema I went to see this was like the indie cinema in Glasgow, and a lot of people in that are very noisy all the time in terms of like overly laugh or overly like expression and stuff like that during the film. But during that scene in the car, it was like silent. It was incredible. It was so good, and for a scene to silence that fucking annoying crowd, it shows that it's special. And Micah Madison was amazing.
Yeah, she's phenomenal, isn't she? Like, just you're right. It feels so real and so authentic. Even the accent as well, that you could tell that she's put so much work into it. Like, again, if you've heard her in other interviews, she's like proper West Coast California girl. And the accent that she uses, obviously East Coast hardened Brooklyn sort of thing, and it's absolutely perfect. There's not a beat wrong when it goes dramatic. She absolutely goes with it. When it goes a little bit comedic as well, she lightens the mood when she has to. I think it's just one of those performances that like can almost carry a movie. And as you say, Todd, you could watch it just for her. And I from first watching it, I was absolutely blown away by her performance. Absolutely. Okay, moving on to the next one, we have Demi Moore in The Substance. Collie, thoughts on Demi Moore?
So there's 2 sides to this. I do feel in a way it's a legacy nomination, but on the other hand, I do think it's a Oscar-worthy nomination. It's kind of like a 2-sided coin, I guess, in that aspect. It's just amazing, and she just portrays, I guess it's like she's portraying almost where she is in her career in life, in terms of like she's older, and you see all these like young actresses coming up and stuff like that, getting the roles that she would have played 30 years ago. The likes of Margaret Qualley, even if she wasn't cast in this, would have been a name that would spring to mind when it comes to stuff like that. So it's just a powerful performance, and her, like, especially the final maybe 30-35 minutes, the physical like side of things that she does, and then obviously Margaret Qualley takes it over for like the last, I don't know how long it is, 20 minutes. I didn't really time it, but like it's just the blending of the two of them. I thought was brilliant, and the fact that they were like two parts of the same person. I thought was excellent. It was a really really great performance, and in a movie that kind of traditionally probably wouldn't have performances of this caliber, but her and Qualley, obviously we spoke about her yesterday that she should have been nominated. They definitely elevate this film, and I think if it was somebody else, I don't know who, but somebody else in this role or some other people in both of those roles, it wouldn't be been talked about at these. It would have just been another body horror. But I think thanks to them, it's being recognised as it rightly should.
I completely agree. When she's getting manic and like her hair's going grey and she's like her fingers are going all deformed and things as well, and she's like shouting at the TV and stuff, like it's just like a pitch perfect performance for what it needs to be. It's interesting you said there that like it's like two sides of the coin, where it's like a legacy Oscar but also a performance worthy Oscar, because I think you've hit the nail on the head with that. Like it's one of those that does hit both kind of notes with that. Like yeah, I thought she was absolutely incredible. Like I say, her descent into like the sort of manic kind of disgusting sort of, or how that sort of like deformed kind of thing that she kind of goes into. I know obviously Margaret Qualley is like the main sort of I was gonna say beast, but that's a bit harsh.
The main blob.
The main blob, yeah, towards it.
Say gloop.
The gloop, yeah, of course. Todd loves gloop. But when you see Demi, but yeah, when you see Demi Moore getting towards that, like I think it's just unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable performance. But I mean, from the start, I think she's great as this woman who is being cast aside by Hollywood, which is what all she's known and what she's been the queen of, I suppose, going forward, and then finally getting cast aside because she's too old. I think you're right. It's almost like a mirror of her, in that she's at that point in her career. And I think she's kind of spoken about that in acceptance speeches and stuff as well. So, yeah, I think it's a phenomenal performance. Todd?
Yeah, you've both hit the nail on the head. I think it's a great performance. The big bit for me is the where she's shouting at the TV and she's cooking, and it's just like the whole film is gross. I know we'll talk about it more as we move forward, but like the whole film is disgusting, and it's just this long like bench full of just shit as she's like working through it, and she hit every beat. I love the where she goes back to the TV studio. So it's the first time after Sue has been like out and after she's been out and around and stuff, and she goes back to the TV studio, and Quaid's there with his box full of stuff and the gifts in there. Like it's that level of like just sheer disappointment, and obviously she knows what's going on. She's not like sort of phased by it, but it's still that having to accept it. And I love the discourse around it, that people are like, if this is what an old haggard woman's supposed to look like, then like that's the point. Is that like, look at how good Demi Moore looks at whatever age she is now, and this is how she's being cast aside. And like I do think it's a great sort of metaphor for her career and other people's careers as well, where they don't deserve it. But yeah, it was fantastic, and it was one of my favorite films of the year, just for the film itself. But I do think she had a big part to play in that.
Absolutely. Okay, final one. Fernanda Torres in I'm Still Here. Todd, what do you think about Fernanda Torres?
Like, of all of the films that we've watched, I've really struggled to verbalize how I feel about this film, and it's down to her. She plays this broken woman who's keeping it all together. So, like, she is at no point, spoilers for the film, at no point does she really go off. At no point does she explode or like kind of. I'm sure you don't see that happen, but it's there. It's like you're a step away. It's bubbling, and she's keeping it together for this family. And I just thought every look, every conversation, and how differently she treats each child, like not in a uncaring way. If you've not seen it, like she loves each one of her children, but she has to protect them at different levels and stuff. So the one who goes to the prison or the jail with her, obviously she knows more than the others do, and like trying to keep it a secret. As we'll get to, sorry, just on best supporting actress, I think you could have nominated a couple of the kids in that category. I know we did. I didn't really touch on it yesterday, and we'll get to more of that later. The fact that she's been recognised is amazing, and I know you were saying before about, like, we were joking about why do we do it. I wouldn't have watched this film. It would have been one of those that maybe I'd have caught when it came to a streaming service somewhere down the line, and somebody'd raved about it on Twitter. I wouldn't have watched it. She was amazing. She was incredible, and I can't. It'll be one of those that I will definitely see again tomorrow. Like I only saw it. Was it Friday night?
Yeah.
And we're back in on Monday to see it. She was incredible.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I only saw it last night. Yeah, I thought the performance from start to finish was incredible. It's interesting to say about you never really see her kind of blow up, but the closest you get to that is when the kid who'd been to the jail with her reads the letter just to her about the kid that's in London, and she says, like, you didn't read out the whole thing, and so and then she obviously snatches it and tells her to get to her room. But again, the only time that she reaches that level of anger or kind of lashed out at the kid a little bit is when she's trying to protect the other ones by having not kind of let the little ones know about what had happened and stuff as well. I read as well the trivia, because that's what us movie lovers do when we've watched a film. We go straight out and look at the trivia and see if there's anything that we could find out about. But it was obviously based on the boy's autobiography, and he said in that his mum never cried in front of the kids, and so like that's where you see that strength from her throughout, is that you don't ever see her really crying in front of the kids. Like there's a moment when one of them I can't remember which one it is, but walks into like the dad's office, and the mum had been crying, and she actually asked her, "Have you been crying?" She's like, "No." And it's I think just after she found out, or she's told that he's been killed, I think it is, or that he's dead. Sorry, and even then she's still protecting the children. And as well, another moment is the picture when the editor's like, the editor wanted to be sad, and she's like, "No, we'll smile." Like that is just like, it's such a powerful moment in what should be, or what would normally be like such a distress, or it is a distressing time for them, but she still gives out that like sort of like powerful outward figure, which I thought was incredible. Collie?
Just before I talk about the actual performance and talk about trivia, do you know that the older version of her at the end of the film's her mum?
Yeah,
who was Academy nominated for Central Station, which is by the same director, and she was the first Brazilian actress ever nominated for an Oscar, and I think for a Portuguese film as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't her in like makeup or anything like that at the end. It was Fernanda Torres's mum.
I was certain
Montenegro.
I was certain it was her, and then when I read that, I was like, that's incredible, like mental.
But back to Torres's performance though, the bit that blew me away is when they go for ice cream after finding out, or she found out that he'd been killed, and she's just like, I think it's on one of the posters, or it's one of the images that you see on quite a lot of the promotional material, and it's just her sitting like that at the table, and she's just like staring into space, and then you see all the kids notice that like she's just not with them. Like she's physically with them, but she's not there, and they're obviously just trying to understand what she's thinking about. Yeah, just powerful and just like really poignant. I think, this is the last person we'll talk about in this category. I think in traditional years, or maybe years gone by, this would have been like the standout performance in the category. I think it's like, you think of maybe like English speaking films that would have been made like this. This would have been like the Meryl Streep type role, this older woman kind of matriarch of a family, powerful, holding things together kind of role. I think it's a very traditional Oscar nomination, but that's not taken away from the fact that it's incredible, like absolutely incredible.
Yep, definitely. Okay, so we're going to be talking about all them later on, aren't we? So we don't have to rate them. But in terms of who we want to win, who we think will win, Collie.
I want Mikey Madison to win, but I still think they'll give it to Demi Moore.
Todd?
I want and think Mikey Madison will take it.
I'm the same as you, Collie. I want Mikey Madison, but I do think, going by what they've done so far, that they'll give it to Demi Moore, which is not.
And I wouldn't be against that like at all, because like we were saying like it's a legacy one and stuff like that, but I think it is in itself a great performance. And Mikey Madison's only 25 or something like that, so she's got 50 plus years of a career left if she wanted to win more. And definitely this showed that she's got the chops. I've got 3 snubs to mention. I don't know if you guys have got any.
Do you want to go first this time? Because we go on.
Yeah, sure. So I think, again, after watching Nosferatu on Friday, Lily Rose Depp, especially from a physical standpoint, is incredible. Like, so good. But not just that, I think like the scene when she confronts Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, like, you don't like me and stuff like that, I think that's super, super powerful. I know you guys probably won't agree, but I think Angelina Jolie, if it wasn't such a full category for Maria, could have got nominated. And one that we've not talked about, and I don't know if, I think you've maybe seen it, Todd, I don't know if you have, Lee, Kate Winslet in Lee. I thought she was incredible in that as well. And, years gone by, if there was more room in the category, or less like good performances this year, I think Kate Winslet would have been nominated for that as well.
Lily Rose Depp would have been in there for me. Like you said, the physicality, the confrontation against Nicholas Holt's character as well, was amazing. Have you seen Dee Dee?
No, I have not.
So Joan Chen in that, like, it stuck with me. I've watched it once. I haven't seen it since I saw it at the cinema. And
did you give that a 5?
Yeah, straight in.
I did see it. I was one that I was not hoping, but I was like, it was talked about being nominated and stuff, so I was preparing myself to watch it, and I will at some point, but just unfortunate we haven't had to watch and discuss it for this.
Yeah. Like, I probably would have gone back and watched it at some point if we were, do you know what I mean, watching as many as we were for this. But yeah, she was amazing, and sort of played a similar role to Fernanda Torres, like the kind of, yeah, but yeah, was amazing. Massey, any?
No, I to be honest, I hadn't really thought about it. No, I don't like women, but I just hadn't really thought about like kind of other best actresses. But Lily Rose Depp, I think, from what you guys are saying, is definitely one of those where like, yeah, definitely should have got a nod. I don't know who I would take out of best actress though for Lily Rose Depp. But yeah, I definitely think Lily Rose Depp deserved something from that. Right, okay, let us move on to the next category. So the next category we have is Best Actor. So the nominees are Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Colman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and then Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. Right, first of all, Adrian Brody, Collie.
So obviously he's an existing Oscar winner for not a similar film, but a similar type film, I guess you could say. So I was kind of, when the buzz started coming out about The Brutalist, I was always just doing more of an Oscar baity film. Obviously we've touched on The Brutalist, we'll get to talk about it more, but I don't think at all it's a Oscar baity film. I think Adrian Brody's performance is phenomenal. I was similar to you two, I think, in terms of as soon as that AI stuff came out, I was on my soapbox going, that's a disgrace. Like, people spend years training for roles and stuff like that, and how can they just like use AI to fix his accent? That's the whole point of people training and practicing and employing people to help them and stuff like that. But on the flip side to where I think like Felicity Jones is kind of, whatever they've done to her voice, like, it ruins her performance to an extent for me. I think Adrian Brody, like, if that had never came out, like, I wouldn't know any different. And we'll talk this more maybe when we're talking about the director, but I think like it doesn't undermine his performance at all. I think he's phenomenal. Even like in the beginning when you see he's like soliciting women of the night, shall we say, and all that kind of stuff. Like you're like, what's this guy's deal? Like, where's he coming from? What's his character? To then when he's his cousin that he stays with, or is it a friend? Is his cousin and his cousin's wife? Yeah. So like that's just they treat him. I don't know. Like I don't know if they treat him like because of like a guy of lesser intelligence or that, but like they just seem to treat him like as an immigrant, if that makes sense. And then it's more and more unraveled through his performance in the story that he's actually like a genius, And I think he carries the film. I know we were talking about Guy Pearce being like best work in that, but Adrian Brody for me is like, that just that little bit better, and that makes sense because he's the lead in that. But yeah, just incredible. And I went in there with preconceptions of writing him off, because there's not much that I've seen him in that I was like, oh, he's a really good actor. Like even when he won it for, is it The Pianist he won it for?
Pianist, yeah.
Yeah, like he was a young guy then, and don't get me wrong, it was a powerful performance, but I think that was more about the movie rather than his performance. Having not seen it for, I don't know, 15 years or something like that, I do intend to go back and watch it at some point, but it's just obviously heavy. But just purely on Brody and the Brutalist, I thought he was excellent, well worthy of a Best Actor nomination.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think from even when we first see him come off the bus and when he hears about the fact that his wife and wife and niece are still alive, and the way he like hugs his cousin, and it's just like you never for a second think it's an actor. You just think that it's a guy that's been told, like literally been told this, and it's like real life. We're watching this and it's real life. You're right about the AI thing. I think we were all in the same boat with that. How it was a bit like, or thought it would potentially alter our thoughts on him. But I agree. I think that it didn't change his performance. I think his performance throughout was great, and it didn't really like sully that. Which I'm glad, because it is a really, really good performance, a phenomenal performance. The peaks and troughs that he goes through from getting hired to do this incredible project to getting addicted to, well, I suppose he was kind of addicted to drugs beforehand, wasn't he? But like the sort of like route that he goes down with that, and then even in the second half when his wife turns up and he's like, I think we spoke about this with Felicity Jones yesterday, but how she wants the relationship with him that they maybe had beforehand, but he almost doesn't. He almost kind of sort of wants to go a different way. It's an incredible performance, and then even we don't see much of him at the end. Like he's kind of like left. It's more Sophia that does the talking and stuff at this like show, the exhibition of his sort of like life and stuff. But he just looks like a disheveled man, and like he's got a couple of facial expressions that you see that I think just sell it completely. I think his performance is just absolutely top notch. It's incredible. And like you, I've not seen The Pianist. I just know that he was obviously Oscar nominated. I've seen Brothers Bloom. But yeah, I thought in this he was absolutely spot on. Todd?
Yeah, he was excellent. I love the sort, like you said, the peaks and troughs. Great phrase to use. Like those sorts of the real highs that he hits. That, like we say, that moment coming off the boat, the moment at the train station got me. Like I was. And especially that sort of panic of like, within that moment, she's not coming, and then there she is. I thought that was amazing. I like the vulnerability and that lack of trust. So like when he's at the diner type thing again with Guy Pearce, I thought that was almost as if to be like, he wants this recognition and he wants the work, but what does it mean? What's it for? And is it Gordon who he lives with?
Yeah.
Is it like
Those kids.
I love their relationship and that kind of like the way they were with each other. Yeah, I thought it was excellent. I was a little bit disappointed, I suppose, in terms of and one of my main gripes with the film that we'll get to, obviously when we get to like Best Picture and stuff, is that it kind of like all of a sudden he just wasn't part of that film anymore, if that makes sense. Like it was just kind of like, right, he's done, and it felt sort of unceremonious. It felt like, oh, there, he's at his part now, which yeah, I was a bit disappointed with, but that's not taken away from his performance. The AI thing, the only and this is me probably just being a bit like got me back up about it, was that like, would his performance have been like if he'd have trained in the same way people do? Would it have been as impressive? Do you know what I mean? Would it have been as good if he'd have trained and done the accent and stuff? I know that's what.
So just to clarify, because obviously it's only bits and pieces I've read on it. It's the Hungarian that
Yeah.
he speaks.
Yeah.
That's what they like tweaked, so it couldn't be just like even change like compared against a local or whatever. So I mean, he must have had to have got it like some way there or something like that,
Yeah.
though. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think if it was changing not only his Hungarian but his English speaking
Yeah,
Hungarian
then
accent,
maybe.
then I would have been like, well, that's not good. But I believe, to my understanding, it was only the Hungarian language that he changed.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Timothy Chalamet in A Complete Unknown. I'll start off this one if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I thought he was okay. I wasn't as completely sold on his performance as Bob Dylan. I would have much rather seen him nominated for Dune Part 2, to be perfectly honest. I think that I get what Bob Dylan is like. I'm not a big Bob Dylan fan. I'm not really gone into this sort of music and stuff, and I get what he's like, but the sort of like almost hipster posturing and stuff just grated on me after a wee while. And it's like mumbling and stuff as well. I'm guessing it was a good Bob Dylan impersonation. But yeah, I would have much rather seen him be nominated for a much more interesting role in Dune Part 2 personally for myself. Collie?
Yeah, so I was going to say, agreed. No, I thought he was excellent in this, but my opening gambit was going to be he should have been nominated for Dune 2. I watched Dune 2 like on opening day, and I was like, that's his Oscar nomination there. That's I know we're not talking about Dune 2, but who cares? The bit when he walks into the South and he's walking in there and he's doing the whole like lead them to paradise kind of big speech and stuff like that, and he takes out his dad's signet ring. I thought that was super powerful. But back to A Complete Unknown, I thought he was great, and having seen Bob Dylan live, obviously like much later in his life and that, but just through his performances and his mannerisms, that you can see that he's really, really put in the effort, I think, to become Bob Dylan. I think he's been training for this for years from the behind the scenes trivia side of things. So I thought he carried the movie. I thought it was an okay movie, and he brought it up to be good, I think, for me.
Good stuff. Todd?
Yeah, I'm with you both on the Dune 2 thing. I think it's mental that in a year he's had two performances like this, and it says everything about him. It says everything about him. I loved his performance, and I think, like you say, it was I'd have said it was a good film taken to an excellent film, like his performance. And I think when we talk about Better Man and how there's so many music biopics now. It's like the big thing. And when Walk the Line and stuff came around, it was new, it was fresh. Where now we've seen it done time and time again. You need a gimmick, and I don't think this had a gimmick. I don't think it had that it didn't have a gimmick. It literally had a performance from Timothy Chalamet that was like, this is Bob Dylan. And I like the fact that it was very similar, but there was range in the Bob Dylan that we were seeing. There was like different stages of his life, and that you felt those different stages. And that I thought the musical performances were excellent. I thought again, I know and like the bigger hits. I've never seen them play, and I don't listen to Bob Dylan regularly, but you felt that it was authentic. You felt like it was him singing. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would agree on that part. I think the singing parts, the performances that way for me was the main highlights for his thing. And I think you're right, Colin. I think he'd been training this for like ages. I think he said he'd been like a good few years, and he actually learned to play the songs and stuff. So like, fair play to him for that. Absolutely. Right, okay, we'll move on to the next one, which is Coleman Domingo in Sing Sing. Collie, I know obviously you love this film, so I'm going to throw it to yourself first of all if you want to
Spoilers, but yes, no, I do love this film. For me, Coleman Domingo in this will be like an all-time leading man performance for me. I think he's untouchable. I think for me, spoiler for the end of the discussion, but he's by far and away my favorite acting performance of the year, of however long. Just absolutely floored me. We've talked about him obviously when he was in Rustin last year, and he's been in quite a lot, but for me, he just completely blew me away. I was excited to see this film. Went to the cinema to see it and that, but yeah, just floored me. His like meltdown after being rejected as parole, I think's amazing. But even from like the first scene where you're seeing him do this, you'll know this probably, Todd, more than me, but like this Shakespeare, I think he does a performance right at the beginning of the film, and I was like instantly hooked. But it's his interactions with Mike, his conversations from cell to cell, he wants to do the right thing by Divine Eye and stuff like that as well. He can tell that he's a good guy, but obviously he's had his flaws as well. And back to the parole hearing, the kind of switch in his demeanor, like ever so briefly, when he's questioned by the woman at the parole board, going, "Are you acting right now?" And from a film perspective, we won't get to talk about this again, is it? It's the only time we talk about it. Yeah. So, like, I just thought from a writing perspective, that just made me go, "Oh, he's not getting paroled here." Just that line of her being like, "Oh, you've obviously like done so well. You've been doing so much for the community," and a lot of that's like focused on his face, like hearing it, and then that little just like droop, like kind of like shoulders down a little bit that he does, and he's kind of like affronted when she's like, "Are you acting right now?" Yeah, just amazing, an amazing performance of like a flawed character who, like, you know, he's kind of in denial about his flaws, I think, a little bit as well, and that's why when he comes around and apologizes at the end, it's like a full circle moment. Just a phenomenal performance in a phenomenal film.
Todd?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like that introduction with the monologue was ridiculous. Like, and I'm not a big Shakespeare guy. When it's done well, it's done well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can appreciate it. It was incredible. I just think his sensitivity towards like the other prisoners, inmates, whatever you want to call them. Like, I thought that was amazing. The breakdown, the bit for me. So during the dress rehearsal is when he squares up, with Clarence Macklin's character. Like, when he puts his fists up and it's like, this guy is not a fighter. Like, at no point was this convincing. Do you know what I mean? It was like he'd never been in a fight, but he was there ready to just throw everything away. And I've only watched this film twice. It will be on a regular rotation, and like, I think it's an amazing film in general. I think in terms of like the cast, I didn't realize that it was a true story, and that B, obviously the cast were playing themselves. So when the credits hit, I was just sat like, fuck off, no, like, just all these sort of like, it just hit me. But I think the main reason I'd watch this film again and again is for that performance. Like, he was all time great. I think Collie is an incredible way to put it. Blew me away.
Yep. I mean, I agree. Like, I enjoyed the film. I did. I do need to rewatch it though. Like, it's one of those that, like, I feel like I was maybe a bit harsh on as a film, but like, certainly Coleman Domingo's performance is like top notch. I don't know how he does it. Like, every time he just seems to like absolutely smash out of the park. Like, even if it's maybe a film you don't enjoy, or a film that maybe you're not as high on as other folk, like, his performance is always like a consistent, like, top level. Like, it's just incredible. I was the same as yourself, Todd, when I seen that it was the actual people play themselves. Like, because there's no sort of like lead into that, or I didn't catch any sort of lead into that at all during the film. And then for that reveal at the end, I was like, that's like really well done. And because essentially they're not acting then, aren't they? They're basically just kind of being themselves, which is what makes it feel so authentic. But yeah, I thought Coleman Domingo was like absolutely wonderful, and he's got to that point with me where, like, if I see his name as like an actor in a film in the cast, or if he leads a film, like I'll just watch that film now just because I know that he'll put in like at least a 9 out of 10 performance. He's just that damn good. So yeah, very worthy.
I think he's going to
nominee.
be in Spielberg's upcoming film.
Oh, is he?
Well,
And just one more scene to talk about with Sing Sing, because we're obviously not going to talk about it again. That scene when he's released at the end, and the shot from the car of him and Clarence Macklin like embracing and that, and then it just like you can just subtly hear him like sobbing, and then it just builds and he's getting more and more emotional. Yeah, just top notch.
Yep, absolutely. Right, move on to the penultimate one in Best Actor. Ralph Fiennes in Conclave. Todd, take us away.
yeah, like the thing is, Ralph Fiennes does what he does in everything. He's such a solid, like, you know, when we talk about, oh, it's the same thing every film. Like, I feel like I've seen this performance before, but I didn't have an issue with that. Like, that isn't a bad thing. I think he's cast in a role where he's duplicitous is the word that I thought I saw used. That I think it is phenomenal. It's that backbiting, like that horrible little sort of. He knows what he's doing. He's trying not to play up to it too much. I think the scenes between him and it's John Lithgow's character, isn't it? Where like that kind of, well, I don't want to be Pope. I don't want to be like. You can see what he's doing, and whether John Lithgow's character can or can't, I don't know. But like, I just thought he was excellent. He's one of those actors, I think, who goes under the radar quite often, and I'm pleased he's getting the credit for leading a great ensemble film as well. Like I think, obviously we'll touch on a bit more, but like his chemistry with Stanley Tucci as well, I thought was excellent. Again, it's a film of conversations, and he does conversations very, very well. Yeah, I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think his it was almost Game of Thrones esque. Was it like good Game of Thrones esque, where it's like where it's about the politics and that sort of thing, and he was like the leader of that. I think it's a genius casting to have him in that role, because he does, as I say, he does that sort of thing well, like the sort of air of not superiority, but an air of authority without ever being like overbearing or like aggressive and stuff as well. Apart from when he's obviously he who must not be named and stuff, but like he's such like it's a very theatrical performance, in like I mean like in a theater, like as a play sort of thing, and I think he is like the perfect person for that. You're right. I think the Stanley Tucci chemistry was a big part of that, and a lot of the conversations where again Tucci is the one that's like he almost like knows that Ralph Fiennes' character wants to be Pope, but and he kind of prods at him a couple of times, and he's obviously kind of headstrong and saying that he doesn't want it, but you can tell underneath that sort of like thinly veiled sort of mask he's got that he does sort of want that. So yeah, I think he's fantastic in this film. Collie?
Yeah, I thought it was a really powerful performance. Great expression there, talking about like it's a film about conversations, and yeah, he just every one. I think like obviously it's a great ensemble cast, but he's the standout in every conversation or confrontation with the various papal candidates. It's the one when he's sitting at the table and they're talking in Latin for a little bit, and the guy's like, "Oh, the English people's like speaking people sit together, the Italian and blah 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 blah," and he just dismisses him and walks off. He's holier than thou is kind of a funny expression to use in this kind of film, but I didn't fully, when you were saying like, oh, he was quite clear like that he wanted to be Pope. I didn't read that. Maybe I just missed that, to be honest. I thought he was just wanting to keep the kind of, he wanted it to be the correct person being put to Pope in terms of that was aligned with his beliefs, not necessarily that he wanted to be it, because like I think if he wanted to be it, would he not have exposed, I guess it's difficult because like if he'd have exposed the I don't know, cardinal or whatever that became Pope, that would have undermined the whole church and stuff, so the whole establishment could have come undone. So maybe he didn't want to do it because of that, but I didn't read him as like a massive power hungry guy. I thought he was just trying to manage a very difficult situation because he was going to leave the ministry. I don't know. I don't know all the church terms, but
Yeah.
he was going to leave prior to the Pope's death. I'm sure he says at some point. So, but regardless, like performance wise, just really strong, really powerful, an established actor. And it's funny when you see him in stuff like In Bruges, which I watched recently, and then this, he's just completely different. But it shows his range. It shows his range and a worthy nomination.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, and the final one in Best Actor, we have Sebastian Stan in The Apprentice, obviously playing the one, the only Donald Trump. Collie, thoughts on Sebastian Stan?
I thought he was class. Like I thought he nailed a lot of the mannerisms without like delving into the meminess, I guess, for lack of a better term, of Trump. The bit that stood out for me is right at the end when he's talking to the ghostwriter and he's proclaiming Roy Cohn's kind of three, pillars of how to live your life as his own. And he's just like got his hands on his hips and he's just standing out, like looking out into New York. I thought that was like, just the end of the film that it was all leading towards was Trump becoming, President Trump almost. But no, I thought he was great. I thought even he had that kind of confidence from the beginning, but then when he's saying that he doesn't drink and that, but then he does to kind of get in with people, it's such a funny film because this is the last time we talk about it.
Yeah.
Like you don't want it to become like just having a go at Donald Trump and because everyone knows how he is in a way, because he's lived in the public eye for however many years, like 40 plus years, back all the way back into the 80s when the film's set. But yeah, I thought he was great. Like I just think the kind of vocal mannerisms and the way that he just like rabbits stuff off, I thought Stan did it very, very convincingly.
There was something he did for me that like straight from the start that like you were just like, yeah, he's embodied Donald Trump, and it's his lips. Like he sort of has his lips always pursed, and then the way it's like that's like the default
absolutely.
position. Like that was just straight away. I was like, you get it. Like it's not a caricature. That is how he talks. That is what he looks like when he talks. And the sort of the almost like it's almost a horror in the way that he turns into this sort of person from what he started off as to the as we're talking about with Jeremy Strong and the conversations that he has with him, like the person that meant the most to him in his early life, the one that helped him get to the point he's at, and he can't even stand near him when he thinks he's like slightly ill or like he's basically taking advantage of him. The conversation they have in the like sort of not the foyer, but like just outside of one of the places where he's kind of where Jeremy Strong confronts him as well. Like I just thought it was a wonderful performance from the both of them, but of course Donald Trump. You're right about the thing with the three rules to win or whatever it was, and when he's speaking to the ghostwriter and when he takes it as his own, that's when you're like, yeah, he's like turned into that, like he's past the point of no return kind of thing. I just thought it was an incredible performance without ever going into what could easily be caricature parody, which you see on like Alec Baldwin on Saturday Night Live or whatever. It's a incredible performance. Todd?
Yeah, you've pretty much touched on everything. I just think it's a case of, in terms of the research he's done and the work he's done to become Donald. And Sebastian Stan seems like a wonderful guy. He's an incredible actor, and like you forget it's him quite a lot of the time. He just kind of like falls into that character. But yeah, he could have just played, right, he is a younger Donald Trump. He looks different, but he's still doing all the same weird mannerisms that, the hands and stuff that he's got now. Whereas like he plays it like the sort of, he is genuinely nervous at the beginning. I've got that sort of like, he's not part of this world. He wants to be part of it. And as he grows into the character, the conversations with Ivana, isn't it? It's Ivana Trump, it's his first wife. And the way that he speaks to her compared to the way that he speaks to like the press, for example, were amazing. That difference. Thought it was a nasty little bit of foreshadowing as well, when obviously it's a legitimate conversation that happened where they're on about like, would you ever run for president? And I just thought, like, again, that could have fallen into like that parody level of him just like, playing up to it, and he didn't. I thought he was excellent, and I went into this sort of dreading it, waiting to see another sort of Alec Baldwin style. And maybe it's my view on Trump or whatever, but I didn't feel like it was a biased view of him. I didn't feel like with Reagan, let's take as the example, as the player an example. It wasn't like anti-Trump propaganda. It wasn't pro-Trump. It was just, this is who he was, and he is a piece of shit. I don't like, do you know what I mean? There's no question about it. And it's shown him for who he is. But again, that might be my internal bias, being like, oh, I agree with this film because I don't like the guy. So, but yeah, Sebastian Stan was excellent, and he didn't. I think he deserves the nod as well because of the lack of parody and the way that he's played it.
Completely agree. Okay, so that is Best Actor. We're obviously not going to be discussing Apprentice again. So and Sing Sing as well, of course. So are you wanting to rate those, Collie, Sing Sing?
5 out of 5. It was my second favorite film last year.
Nice. Todd?
Yeah, it was a 5 for me as well.
I give it a 4, but I'll watch it again. I will watch it again. The Apprentice, Collie?
Yeah, I give it a 4.
Todd?
Yeah, same here, 4 stars.
Yeah, same for me as well.
Same
We're
as
all
Sing
in
Sing.
sync.
That is insane.
So Want and Think will win, Collie?
I want Coleman Domingo to win it, but I think Adrian Brody will win it.
Todd?
I've gone. I want Coleman Domingo to win it, but I think he'll take it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Nice. I want Adrian Brody, and I think Adrian Brody. Mr. Brody.
And as for Snubs, we all touched on it.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it should be the same 5 guys, but Chalamet as for June 2 instead of Complete Unknown.
100%. Is there any other snub, Chad, or just
That was it for me.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, I was looking, so obviously a lot of the snubs I've done today are like, oh, it's Nosferatu ones because I watched that on Friday. Nicholas Hoult was amazing in it, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't kick out anybody out the category for him, so I don't see that as a snub so much.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, look, we're going to move on to the next one, which is Best Director. And as we kind of said, Director may kind of bleed a bit into Best Picture. But we'll try and keep it kind of more directory. But we may kind of move into the sort of Best Picture side of things as well. But we'll obviously go through Best Picture as a whole. So the nominees for Best Director: Sean Baker for Anora, Brady Corbett for The Brutalist, James Mangold for A Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez, and Coralie Farge for The Substance. So, first of all, Sean Baker for Anora, Collie.
So prior to seeing Anora, I hadn't really read up much on Sean Baker. It turns out I'd seen 2 of his films prior to it. So Tangerine and the Florida Project, which I both enjoyed. And yeah, but this is for him, like, it's his most recognized work. It's his best work. Getting a performance like that out of Mikey Madison, who'd been in stuff before, but obviously got elevated by this film. I think her work alongside Sean Baker, has allowed them both to be pushed as prominently as they have been in the awards season. So yeah, like you say, this does bleed into best. It's nominated for Best Picture, so it'll be a bit of both. But yeah, just so well directed, really well paced. I thought even just like some of the musical choices, like having Take That and that, I thought was really excellent. And obviously the callbacks to the music, like at various points in the film, were really good. So yeah, just from top to bottom, like writing, casting, the way it was shot, he obviously oversees all that, and he did an excellent job.
Good stuff, Todd.
Yeah, I think it was really clever to have things like Vanya's dad, like the shots of him. Like he didn't have a lot to do, but like when he was sat laughing at the conversations that were going on, and he was obviously impressed by like how ballsy Anora was. Like I love that sort of stuff, like those little sort of character choices. And I think so. I've only seen Red Rocket. Red Rocket's the only one that I've seen by Sean Baker. and he does that. It's all about the people around, and it's all about building this sort of like real world, I suppose. Yeah, I thought he did. I thought he did a phenomenal job. And like you say, from top to bottom, it was really well done. I think he's got an amazing performance because he obviously he approached Mikey Madison, didn't he? After seeing her in Scream, that was where he sort of caught her from, and I think that's an eye as a director because she's great in Scream 6. Like, she was fantastic, but it's not a film that you go, there's my Oscar winner. There's like the lead to the best film I've made type thing. So that's a great eye casting her. But yeah, I thought he did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. I think it's relatively subtle as well as like directing, isn't it? It's kind of he lets things almost like feel real. I was looking at, I've not seen any of his films, but Colin, when you said about the Florida Project, I was seeing about, I don't know if you put it in a chat or something maybe, or if I'd just seen it on YouTube, where there's a moment in Florida Project, and it's about two kids. There's like a rainbow that comes out, and they kind of they chat about the rainbow to each other. That was like totally improvised. There was a rainbow one day on set, and he basically called them in because they were meant to have their day off, and they just kind of improvised that. And like you said afterwards, that saved the studio $25,000 and stuff. And so it's like, it's obviously his eye for things that like feel natural, and allowing his actors, whether they're, you know, accomplished actors or whether they're literally kids, to just kind of be as authentic as possible. I think that lends to the film very, very well, and makes it feel like such a good film, like really, because you do feel like you're watching this kind of thing happen. It's not like it doesn't feel like a film, it feels like we're watching it kind of unravel. You're right about the pacing. I think the pacing is key as well. There's not a moment that drags. I've seen people online kind of talk about the like the second act when the henchmen break into it, and they're having like there's a few times where they let her go but they catch her again and stuff like that, and they're kind of, it's a bit overlong, but I thought it was paced perfectly. I think it was like exactly what was needed to sort of almost lighten it a little bit, because it's a tough moment for Anora that her husband has just left her with these people. But I thought it was paced absolutely perfectly, and yeah, I think directorially, it was a very well done yet not very flashy film.
That shot of her screaming on the couch is amazing. It's just like purely focused on her mouth, and then Igor's like, "Please stop screaming." It's funny. Like you say, it's funny, and it's just like daft. But it's a good mix between the tone of the film.
Exactly. And I think that's it as well. It's a different tones. He gets absolutely spot on. It's like pitch perfect. Not the film. Now the next director is Brady Corbet for The Brutalist. We kind of touched on this a little bit, I think, yesterday when we were speaking about The Brutalist, and a bit today. But we're talking about cinematography. Sorry, Colin, what are your thoughts on his directorial?
Obviously, he has like a cinematographer in that, but he must, work with them very closely for the shots, and it's such a beautifully shot film. So even like story aside, budget aside, performances aside, it's just a solid like film to look at, and that's like no pun intended with the building, but the shots of the concrete building at the end of it just like being empty, and then even like subsequently later on when they're searching for Harrison at the end, I thought that was just really well shot. It was just. It just had me like, obviously you're hooked in that moment of, oh, are they going to find him? Where's he gone? What's happening in that? But you're sitting back and observing just really well like lit shots, framed shots, all that kind of stuff. Really, really good. And it's really random. I was like reading up on him because I don't think I'd really heard of him before this. And he's randomly in like 6 episodes of season 5 of 24. He just plays like a woman's son in it. And as soon as I like Googled like who's that in 24, I was like, oh my god, that's them. And then you look at him now and I can't really place him, or I would have placed him otherwise, but it was just so random. But to shoot this on, what was it, a $10 million budget or something like that as well?
Mental.
Insane. And I'm really looking forward to what he does next. Like I hope studios will throw money at him, but I hope he kind of stays quite grounded with it and doesn't go and do a $100 million budget film or whatever. I hope he keeps it kind of to the good stories and getting the good performances out of his cast. Because, like was it Adrian Brody's best work, Guy Pearce's best work, Felicity Jones super strong in it, and I thought the story was well paced. And for the fact that like he was brave enough to do a film that's was it like 3 hours 20 with a 15-minute break?
3:35, I think, wasn't it?
That's with the 15-minute break.
Oh, is it? Sorry, right.
And the way that it was split, I thought it was like I know a lot of people were down on the second half, but I thought both halves were equally riveting. I thought so. Yeah, really impressed by it.
Mm-hmm. I think the choice to have an intermission is a brave one, but I think it worked perfectly for the type of film that it was, and the point that it kind of stopped as well, because they talk about this needing this picture or something that glues them together. And the intermission is well, obviously the lead up to the intermission is like her talking about how the person upstairs has a picture of them, and then the whole intermission is just that picture while the timer kind of counts down. I think that's such a brave decision from a director, but it works perfectly, and it paces the film as well. It means that you're almost watching two films because you've got a 50-minute break in between. And it's a very smart move that he made. But yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of times when you think about a director, or a film, if you think about the cast and how you can get stuff out of them, a lot of that is down to the director and being able to, if you can get great performances out of your cast, then that's a testament for yourself as a director. I think he did phenomenal job. Todd.
This for me is where, in terms of performances and stuff, like you say, you got great performances out of it. But it's where I hated the intermission. I thought like
Really?
it ground. I mean, the film bored. I was bored. I was bored for a lot of it. And again, that's maybe me not getting it or whatever. And I need to rewatch it. I know I need to change my rating because it's overly harsh, and I give it as soon as I walked out of the film. But I need to rewatch it, but I have no interest in rewatching it, if that makes sense. It just one of my main gripes with the film was that it didn't let moments breathe, and for some people that might have been good, but for me, the attack of Guy Pearce on Laszlo, that was just like done, gone. Like, I loved the performance of it, but the actual direction. The other bit that was the bit with Gordon and his son, where they're talking about his mum, and that they don't talk about it. And it was just like, right, that's it, done. Next, move on, carry on. And I described the film as a mess, and that's how I just felt like we were at one point, then we were at the next, and it was just buzzing backwards and forwards, and it felt incoherent at times. That like mess is probably too easy of a word to use, but incoherent was. Yeah, it didn't feel like it had an identity at times for me. So, but maybe that was because I was bored. And then when it got to the intermission, if there was no intermission and it was 3 hours 20, I'd have sat no bother. I'd have sat, and it might have been that, like, that build up and it kept going. But then when I was at the intermission and I was like, fucking hell, like, I've got another sort of hour 20 here and I'm not enjoying it anyway. Like the story and maybe the film wasn't for me. I don't know, but I think that was its major downfall, and that's obviously down to the director. Like, he makes those decisions.
Fair. I allowed me to get a hot dog, so I'm happy with the mission. Next one in Best Director, we have James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. Todd.
Yeah. Again, I think I'll go back to my point about safe music biopics, and I think, like I say, he got a really good performance out of one of Timothée Chalamet's best. It's only that, like, he's then excelled that in another film in the same year. I think some of the decisions in terms of in the apartment and the way that was shot was excellent. When we talk about pace, I think this film was really well paced. I think it focused on the right moments at the right time for the right amount of time. yeah, but the musical performances for me were the main bit, and really really well directed.
Yeah, I do agree. I think obviously, I do think it is a kind of a by the numbers sort of biopic, but that's okay. I think the use of time was really good for me. Like it never explicitly says like, oh, we're now in 1965 or now 1966, which I think a lot of things can do. It kind of used the world around to almost uh tell us what the time was, if that makes sense. Which I thought as a really interesting choice. Directorially. Um,
Stop trying to
I
use that word.
I'm gonna keep using it until I get it right first time. Okay. But for me, yeah, I don't know. It just felt too safe. Although I did enjoy the fact that James Mangold is creating a musical universe. He's also got Johnny Cash now cameo in this one, as well as obviously having done Walk the Line. The next one's going to be, he's going to probably do like, I don't know, a film about uh I don't know, someone that have Johnny Cash come in
I
and
bet,
post
at least
credits.
you had that
Yeah.
point thought out before you started it.
You know,
Jesus
well,
Christ.
whatever he does next, he'll have Johnny
Some
Cash come
music
in the post.
guy. Oh my god.
You know, Johnny Cash kind of post credits to say he's making a super group of
Yeah,
country singers. So yeah,
musical
that'd be
cinematic
good.
universe.
But yeah, I thought it was safe enough. It was fine. Yeah, it was okay in terms of directorially. Collie.
Safe, I think, is a very good way to describe it. I think, like, obviously, he did walk the line, and that's held up as one of, if not, the best music biopics. So to try and recapture that magic, like near 20 years later, or whatever, I would have liked, I think, in a way, to see somebody else try it. It was fine. Like, for me, the film's a solid, like, 3 film, but it gets elevated a little bit because of Chalamet, purely Chalamet. So it was fine, and he's still not really forgiven for Dial of Destiny, to be honest. It's weird, like, when you look at his filmography, he's got some of my favourite films, like 310 to Yuma and Logan are, like, top tier. Ford versus Ferrari, incredible as well, but his last 2 ones, especially Indiana Jones, but even so, this have kind of underwhelmed me a little bit because I know how good he is. I know he's been given, I think, a Star Wars project in the future. I think he's doing Swamp Thing for DC as well. So I'm still like, he's still a really good director, and I really do rate him, and I hope we do him as an episode because Copland as well. Sorry, just looking at his filmography, he did Copland. So he's got the ability to make excellent films. And don't get me wrong, I rated this film highly, but it's like a good star, if not a star and a half, maybe higher, because of Chalamet and Chalamet alone.
Fair. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, which is Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez. Todd.
Like we've said, genuinely, this isn't me being like, I've got nothing to say. I think we've said as much as we can, because it yes, it took swings and missed all of them. That's my issue. Maybe that, like, it didn't need to be a musical, and the musical numbers were shit. They weren't well directed. If you are directing, you need the balls to be able to say to somebody, that's not the performance that we need. We need you to do this now. And for Amelia Perez herself, like, I think you need to be saying that's not what we need. And if that is what he wants, then he's not doing it right. Do you know what I mean? Well, like you say, what's his previous work? Because I don't know how he's got the position that he has. I think it was badly handled. Wasn't good at all. And I think I've said all I can about that film.
I think for me, a lot of it is it feels lazy. There's a lot of the stuff that he said that he didn't fully research, like Mexico. He didn't really fully research the Mexican language, the cartel kind of thing. He basically went at it from, as I say, I feel like it's just so lazy, like not doing that level of reach. You're the director. You're the cox of the ship. You're the one that's telling everyone when to row and how to keep things moving forward and going in the right direction. But like without having any sort of prior knowledge of the subject, or enough of a prior knowledge about the subject, I think he's really done a disservice to what could have been an interesting story and what could have been an important story. But it's just really poorly handled from every single aspect of it. Collie?
Yeah, just a completely ignorant film, I think, to be honest, and an ignorant filmmaker. Just completely tone deaf from start to finish. If you're wanting to do a film, about this, I don't know why. Obviously, Sicario is like an all-time great for me, but like you said, Todd, why did it have to be a musical? I think there's a story here to be told that could have been told in a much more dramatic fashion. And just purely executed top to bottom. That fucking roll off of that car at the end was just like the cherry on top of like, what the fuck is this film? And if we're going back to it has to be musical, then fair enough. But why, like that song about cock and balls and stuff like that? Like, it's not even a good song, if that makes sense. Like, you look at Wicked, the other like musical that's been highly touted this year. I know there's a well established one, but still, like, all those songs are great. Even though there's ones that I like more than others, like they're incredible. And Todd, you'd never seen anything about Wicked, and you said that Defying Gravity was incredible.
Mhm.
Like, whereas me and you had heard it like before, so we knew it was coming and we knew how iconic it was. But even for you to do that, whereas none of these songs, I know you said maybe you liked one of them, Massey, but like, if you're gonna go down the musical route, make sure the songs, at least one of them, are good. And it was just like a complete flat film for me. So go one way and tell the interesting story dramatically, or go a musical way, but make sure the musical's good. And it was neither.
Mm-hmm. I would say, in my own defense, for El Mal, I liked Zoe Saldana's parts of it, but then like Carla Sofia Gascon starts like opera singing in it. I didn't like that part. It was the
No, sorry, I'm just gonna interject there. You're trying to defend yourself, whereas like I rated this film higher than you guys. For spoiler alert for the end of it. But I still rated it really low. But your line through this whole thing is, oh, well, you actually like Emilia Perez? That's what you were saying in the chat like previously. And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't. There's like the middle third of the film, I thought there were some all right moments, but the bookends were terrible. So no, I'm not letting you really defend yourself being like, oh, well, actually, I like, when I say I like El Mal or whatever, I don't actually like some of it. So shut up.
Some would say that's rattled.
Move on.
Okay, moving on. Coralie Farget for the substance.
It would have been good for you to look up how to say these people's names.
I did.
Right, like look it up. It's in terms of like reading it. That no, let's going like, how do you pronounce?
I'm looking at it now. Yeah.
No, like listen to phonetic. Anyway, carry on.
Collie, thoughts?
I thought it was. I think it's really cool that a body horror like this is being recognized at the Oscar, like a genre film, for lack of a better term. I'm not really familiar with Coralie. I'll just call her Coralie. Miss F. Her work before, but yeah, we've kind of talked on the substance a fair bit so far. But from a director standpoint, I think some of the shots of like I talked about it with the Reagan Dennis Quaid thing, but that shot of him eating's like disgusting, and I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. That's going to be the worst part of the film, and it's obviously just not. But because I remember me and my friend Mark went to see quite a lot of these films like at the tail end of last year when they were in like Glasgow Film Festival and that. And The Substance came on a couple of times. He's like, I don't really know if I fancy that. Whereas I was like, I'm so keen. I was like, the kind of the gym pump kind of music, like the neon things. I was like, it's like I didn't know it. Obviously, I don't think anybody knew what going in, like how nuts it was gonna become. But I thought the concept was great, and it just the last half hour is just batshit crazy, just insane, but in a great way. So it's like I say at the start there, it's great for a film to be kind of recognized in this high profile.
Mm-hmm.
Because that could have been just like no, don't get me wrong, like that could have just been maybe not a Shudder because they're bad, but like I know it got distributed by Mubi, but this could have been a small cinema release just onto Mubi, like forgotten kind of film.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
but the fact that it's been exposed like this is great.
Todd, thoughts, and obviously thoughts on the Shudder.
Right, let me hear Shudder rebuttal.
I fucking hate it here. Shudder's got some good stuff on you. You just have to look through.
It has some good stuff on it, but let's talk percentage here. 2%. I'll give you
99.
I'll bump to 20. I'll bump to 20. No, so yeah. I have a list on Letterboxd. I need to update it, but I have a list. Yeah, I thought. So I've Revenge is Coralie Farage, previous film, and it's quite a straight-laced like revenge thriller, borderline horror, but it's a really good film. I would highly recommend it. It's nothing like this. Do you know what I mean? I was going into this expecting it to be, like you said, it was advertised as the body horror stuff, and I thought it would be like sort of when it, the horrible scar on her back and stuff. Never in a million years did I expect to see this like blob of a humanoid sort of creature, like spraying blood everywhere, and then like for Demi Moore's face to be splattered onto a fucking Hollywood star like that. That for me is, I just didn't expect it. And I think more than anything, it's a fun film. Like, I know it's gross and I know it's disgusting, but it's such a fun film. I love that there's like the nods to like other horror, especially The Shining. I think, like the bathroom and the corridors and all that, like the symmetry in those moments. I'm with you on Randy Quaid, not Randy Quaid. He's the other guy.
Dennis
Quaid, thank you. Because then all that be was Jack Quaid as well. There's hundreds of them. Yeah, Dennis Quaid. That shrimp thing is awful. Like it is, but I think as well, like she's the decisions like where Sue's teeth fall out, and like she's walking down. I mean, I will watch people be ripped to shreds in horror and have no problem, but anything to do with teeth and fingernails, and I'm out. Like, I can't do it. So watching that and them hitting this, but when she's walking down the corridor and he's like, everybody loves a girl who smiles, and she does that like like I couldn't ever get to that sort of level that she hits. It's a phenomenal film, and I think I'm gutted, in a sense, that there are other films nominated that are stronger, because I would have loved this. I think there are better showings, but it is one of the best of last year.
Mm-hmm. It's unflinching, isn't it? It's completely unflinching, and that's what I totally appreciate. We talk about how Emilia Perez took swings. This took massive swings, and landed, which I completely appreciate. Coralie Farja, I've checked it. It's Farja, for doing. She doesn't allow you to look away. You watch every single last bit of disgusting moments, from, as you say, Reagan eating his shrimp, to literally sewing up a body, or the big slit in the body, which is absolutely disgusting. And I think it's such an interesting, out there, brave film, and absolutely fair play to her for doing that. I'm so happy that she did decide to do this and take massive swings, and obviously it's paying off, for getting a nomination. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, snubs. Collie?
Villeneuve for Dune 2, I think, would be the standout for me.
Todd?
Sing Sing. I know we were saying like they're playing themselves, but like was talking about Ken Loach and stuff, and getting non-actors to play characters, and it doesn't always work, even though they're from the town that they're supposed to be from or whatever. Where there was performances from non-actors here, and it worked really well, even in those moments where they weren't doing the stage play or whatever. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a travesty, but yeah, that would be my one.
Ramel Ross for me, for Nickel Boys.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Super well directed. We'll talk about that obviously in a wee sec, but yeah, I would like to see him get a nod. Want to win and think to win for the best director, Collie.
Want to win Sean Baker, and I think he'll win it. But I'd give it to anybody. Well, actually, not anybody. Brady Corbet or Coralie Farge would be the other ones. That, like, if they get it, then I'd be happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Todd?
Yeah, Sean Baker. Want and think, but I'm with you on both the Substance and the Brutalist. Like, in terms of, well, no, I'd be happy if the Substance won it, and I'm gutted that I haven't, like, Anora's in there, because that would have been me want and think. But yeah,
I want Sean Baker. I think Brady Corbet will get it. Okay, we are on to the final category, of the Oscars episode. We're on to the best picture. Now, you may find that a lot of the stuff we've maybe touched already, but we'll kind of go through it as a sort of overall and say what we think. So, again, the nominees are Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. So, first of all, let's just touch on each one, even if we've spoken about them before. Anora, Collie.
Loved it. Loved it from first watch. Really worthy nomination. As kind of said in the Sean Baker segment, I'd seen some of his prior work. So yeah, really happy for it to be recognised, top to bottom, like performance wise. Great. Obviously, some of them are being recognised. Maybe Toros could have been recognised for supporting, but like we said, it's kind of stacked things. So hopefully, it wins maybe a screenplay award or something like that as well. But yeah, worthy best picture nom.
Totally agree. Loved the film, start to finish. Loved the performances, directing great. I think it's one that you could watch over and over again. And if a film can allow you to do that, then I think that's the sign of a really good film. Todd?
Yeah, it's just incredible, absolutely incredible, and I felt like it came out of nowhere. Probably one of, if not one of my favorite films of last year. Mikey Madison, I think now has established herself. I think, like you say, amazing. Every element is incredible. That the wedding scene, where it wasn't cheesy. And let's be honest, using The Greatest Day by Take That can often be like a cheesy choice, but it worked really well. There was genuine happiness, and it wasn't even, it was like euphoria, and the fake fireworks and stuff in the background that were like, this isn't a real thing, but it feels real to them. And it was just, every decision was phenomenal. Brilliant film, and one that I will be getting on physical. It's gone straight to Criterion, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Which will be, yeah.
Good stuff. The Brutalist, Collie?
So, like, kind of touched on this when we maybe spoke about it first with Brody today, in terms of, I thought the concept of this film was a bit kind of Oscar baity, a little bit, based around the Holocaust and the recovery of that and stuff. But I think it stands on its own 2 feet. It doesn't really lean on that too much, apart from the story is about a person who has survived the Holocaust. That's not the subject matter per se. So to do it on such a low budget, bring out a prior Oscar winner Adrien Brody, but to do his actual best work, Guy Pearce again excelling. The way that it was shot was beautiful. The score was amazing. I thought the score hit all the emotional points properly as well. It's interesting. There's been some like tweets that I've been seeing about like discussing the end of the film and what it means and what it kind of talks about when it's his art's being exhibited, but he's like in the wheelchair and adult Sophia's talking, is that like she's just using him to like, using his name and his kind of prowess as an architect to kind of take advantage of him, just like Harrison did, which is quite an interesting thing, because there was a lot of chat about, it's a Zionistic film and all that, but that's not particularly what I took out of it. I thought it was just, her leeching onto him a little bit as well. So and because the fact that it was like, it was in Venice, which is very proud, but the use of the dance kind of song at the end was quite jarring, but I think it was supposed to be jarring. So excellent film, like worthy best picture, and I really enjoyed it, and it will be one that I'll be watching. Not all the time, obviously, because it's fucking really long, but I think it earned its runtime. It told the story well.
Yep, I totally agree. That's an interesting point about the end. I like that theory that she's potentially using advantage of him, because that fits in with the theme, doesn't it? A great film. I didn't feel like it was. I was sitting for 3.5, or obviously I got up to get my hot dog, but I didn't feel like I was sitting for that amount of time. I thought it was told a story great. We spoke about obviously the performances, the directorial side of stuff as well, and cinematography as well. I thought it was a beautiful film, well acted, well directed, and a very worthy Best Picture nominee. Todd, we know what you hate, so
like I said when we said about challenges, I'm wrong, and I'll accept the fact that objectively people love this film. I do think when we've talked about it, and we do this quite often, that my rating coming out of it, because I was bored, tired, sick of like watching it, like that it was probably too harsh. Now we talk about the performances and the cinematography, but it's not something I'd ever want to watch again. It didn't land for me at all.
Fair enough. Complete Unknown, Todd.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Loved the sort of the story of somebody who I'm aware of, like I said, but not a massive fan of. It was those musical moments for me, in particular the last one, the sort of the rock and roll performance, I suppose, was the big moment for me. Yeah, and again Timothy Chalamet and Elle Fanning, I thought were both outstanding.
Yeah, it was a fine film for me. I enjoyed it. I didn't like totally love it. I would say I thought it was a bit safe. I agree about the last performance, the rock and roll one. I thought that was a brilliant sort of lead up to that and stuff. I thought that was really good. But yeah, it's one of those that like I maybe should have loved it more, but it was fine for me. It was okay. Collie?
Yeah, the Academy love a musical biopic, so it was kind of a safe pick for them, to be honest. And it was fine. Could have been better, but could have been worse as well. So kind of said it a few times. Just Chalamet bumped it up by a fair bit for me. It probably won't be one that I'll rush back to watch until we do a Mangold episode.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, Conclave, Collie.
I'm really glad that this was nominated for Best Picture. Having not been really recognised in cinematography, I thought it's just a really well shot film, which we kind of talked yesterday when we were talking about snubs. I know it's like an adapted from a book, but I thought, the story was well told and well paced through the film. The kind of unraveling of what's the thing that's going to expose this priest, because they obviously all have skeletons in their closet. So I thought it was rolled out at a really good pace. Really great performances from everybody on the cast. I thought like Tucci, Lithgow, Rossellini, and then of course Fiennes, and then the other Cardinals, is it? Yeah, so I thought everybody had their kind of time to shine, and really chuffed that it's been nominated for Best Picture, because it's kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit, I think, when it comes to, is it going to be nominated for a lot, is it not going to be nominated for a lot?
Yeah, I agree. It reminded me kind of, I know it's one of the talky films, but it reminded me a bit of like 12 Angry Men, how it's like all these men like in a sort of power hungry, or like a sort of try to work out how to go ahead with like a vote kind of thing and stuff. I like that. Yeah, I thought, as I said before, performances great. And yeah, I was engaged the whole time, which for that sort of movie, if you can get that, I think that's the half the battle. If you can get someone engaged for that whole time for a film like this, then you've done a good thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed that film. Todd?
Yeah, it falls into that category of films that should be boring on paper but work really well. The Big Short being the other perfect example of like, oh, we're making a film about the housing crisis. We're so fucked, or what? Like, it's the same thing here. Like the writing, the performances, the direction, the cinematography, everything makes this film better than it has any right to be. And I think everybody puts a shift in. I agree with that. I think every performance in there is an excellent one.
Absolutely. Dune Part 2. Colin, I know you hate this film, so thoughts?
One of the greatest sci-fi films of all time. Not too much to say about it, to be honest. Like, it's one of my favourite films of all time now, and it was from first watch. I remember Mark of the Mark and Me podcast, he seen this prior to it being fully released, and he texts just being like, I think Villeneuve's done, I think he said the best film of the decade or something like that. Oh. And I was like, oh fuck, don't tell me that, because like I'm gonna obviously be really excited for it. And then it's because I seen it on the Friday, I seen it back to back IMAX screenings, and like in between them, I just texted him going, "You were absolutely spot on, just phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal." Like performance wise, obviously story wise, it's not his story, but the way that it kind of elevated Dune Part 1, like and the fact that it picked up like immediately after, I thought was really good. It wasn't like like this is 6 months down the line or whatever. And just the slow build up of Paul being this kind of messiah was great, and ingratiating himself to to Javier Bardem's way of thinking. But then it's like it's so subtle because a lot of people at the end are like cheering on, like, yeah, go Paul, but it's actually not good because he's now becoming the baddie, I guess. And I'm so excited for Messiah. Hopefully, it is going to go ahead and get released next year.
Yep, I really hope they smash it, and because it will be the if he lands it, greatest trilogy of all time. It will. Yeah, I love Dune Part 2. I'm so glad I got to see it at the cinema. It's like it's perfect for the big screen. I wish we had an IMAX up here because that would have been one of the films that I would have loved to have caught in IMAX. It's a brilliant film from start to finish, and as you say, I think it retrospectively elevates Part 1, which is just like a testament to both films, and testament to Mr. Villeneuve as well. Todd.
Yeah, I know he's telling an existing story, but that's what you'd hope, isn't it, from a sequel? And I think a lot of the times what you get is a tacked on sequel, or like a right, we need to, that was so successful, let's make another one.
Joker
This
2.
is this is just like literally, we need to tell this story. Like, this story has so much in it. It's not just one film. One film's worth. Yeah, performances are incredible. The effects, the cinematography is just the. I haven't seen the original. I've not read the book. Not the original. Sorry, I haven't seen the David Lynch version. I haven't read the book, but it's such a realization of a realization of a world. It creates this world. We believe that it exists. It does it without telling you, without spoon feeding you too much. It's yeah, a phenomenal film, and again, one I'm glad I got to see on the big screen. Now I can appreciate it watching it on the telly, being like, oh my god, remember when?
Yeah,
At the cinema, and how grand that was. Yeah, incredible.
absolutely. Emilia Perez. Todd.
Dog shit. Next. No,
Collie?
fuck it. Like, it shouldn't be here. That's the only thing. Shouldn't be here. Go on, Collie.
Not only should it not be here, it received, like, was it the equal record or the second ever, like, most amount or whatever? Like,
Yeah.
why? Don't get it. Yeah, dog shit next, as Todd said.
Yeah. I'll just round it out as well. Dog shit. I'm still here, Todd.
But the surprise for me, and I think on a rewatch it might change me want to win, but I've only seen it once, and maybe it's a sort of a recency bias, or like coming out feeling emotional about it. And it was just the fact that when we talk about, best actor, best supporting actress, those kids, that Ruben, sorry, like, could have been nominated. I thought the entire ensemble were a real family, and what you got was it was like 2 hours, I think, but what you got in that first sort of like 10 minutes of her on the beach and moving through each character into the house with the dog, like, every bit of it, you got this family were real, and it was just phenomenal. I can't believe I wouldn't have watched it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe this would have gone past me, because it is, in my eyes, like a perfect film, and I've seen it once. Yeah, incredible.
Collie?
Yeah, phenomenal. It blew me away as well. Like Todd said, completely believable, and obviously anchored by the performance of Torres that we've already discussed. I do want to say one thing, not so much on the film, but on when I went to watch it, and it was this film that made me tweet going, folk that clap at the end of films need to get to fuck, because at the end of this, it's so, like, poignant and sad because they're showing you the photos of the original, because obviously they recreate some of the photos during the film, and then they're like, and you see them, and then they show you, like, these are the actual photos of it and stuff like that. And it was one of those films that I just wanted to sit for a minute or two at the end of it, digest it, and get away. And then that's what was happening. And then all of a sudden, like, 2 or 3 people started clapping, and then about 20 people started clapping, and I was just like, who are you clapping for? It's purely performative on their part, going, oh, look at us, we're cinephiles, we will appreciate good art and stuff like that. Like, nobody from the film is there or anything like that. I just don't get it. And GFT is, like, notorious for that, and it really fucks me off. Because they're just doing it for look at us, we're like fucking art students for the most part or whatever. Like, I just don't get it. And it frustrated me at the end of a film, whereas I just wanted to sit and digest it because it was really, really powerfully done. And it's a story that it could have been based on, like, maybe not the exact circumstance because of football, but like that was happening to so many families in Brazil at that time, and it's a really important story to tell because I think it was being boycotted by the far right in Brazil, or it was threatened to be, but because they were like, oh, it wasn't a dictatorship and blah blah, but they deny all these crimes happened and stuff, but it ended up being like either not record breaking, but box office topping in Brazil as backlash to them saying, oh, don't see this film because it's a lie.
I know. It's funny that you said that about the folk clapping and stuff, and kind of you just want to sit and digest it, because I was the same. I want to sit and digest the because there's like even a bit where it kind of takes you through the house slowly and stuff as well. And I was like, yeah, I just want to enjoy that. Folk started standing up and like walking past and stuff like that, and like I'm just like the lights hadn't even gone on yet, so I'm just like, just sit and wait until lights go on, and then so there was like folk standing on the. I sit right at the back, but there's folk like standing on the stairs and stuff, just watching it from there. And like, I'm like, you could be in their seat doing that. Just yeah. But that aside, film was phenomenal. Obviously, like I said, I saw it last night. Still fresh in my mind. It's one that with foreign films, I sometimes, and it's weird because I read subtitles anyway in English films, but I sometimes get a bit tired like reading subtitles. I didn't at all for that. Like it allowed me to still be in the film and still read the subtitle stuff. So I definitely watched that again and again. And shout out the production design. I thought the production design was great as well for the time and stuff. So yeah, it's wonderful film. Nickel Boys, Collie, we haven't spoke. We touched on it being potentially snubbed, didn't we, for cinematography?
Snubbed for cinematography, and you mentioned obviously director as well. Yeah, again, similar time still here. Just one of those stories that happened like so much. Maybe not the exact circumstance, but it's kind of a microcosm of the abuse and mistreatment that happened in the south of the United States. Just purely as a film perspective, the choice to do it first person, I thought was incredible, and the twist at the end just absolutely like gutted me, like really, really gutted me. Because I went in like with no prior knowledge really, apart from the fact that it was nominated for this, and it was just interesting that like it's just in there at Best Picture, but not much else. And Todd, kind of similar to what you said about I'm Still Here, it probably would have passed me by if it wasn't here and we weren't doing this.
Mm-hmm. I wish. So again, I loved the film, and I thought the point of view choice was really clever, really interesting. I wish I didn't know it was David Diggs that was like the older version, because I knew that before going in, because I knew that he's a bit lighter skinned. So when they started calling him the other guy's name, I was like, wait a second. Then obviously the twist sort of happened. So it didn't dampen it. I thought it was a fantastic way of doing it. I thought it was great. It's just that I kind of almost kind of got that before because I knew it was him. But yeah, I thought it was a phenomenal film. So moving, so powerful. We spoke about obviously being snubbed for cinematography. Some of the shots were beautiful, and when talking about big swings that like the substance that worked, the point of view swing for this, I thought worked phenomenally and was super powerful. Todd?
Yeah, and I think the shift in perspective at times, so like the sort of over the shoulder or behind the back third person shots, then make you think a little bit more. I think the direction combined with the first person stuff. So like there was a lot of the time where you were looking at people's feet and looking at people's hands rather than their faces, and it's obviously like either like a power dynamic in terms of like, you didn't want to sort of meet them at the eye level because he's not allowed to, or because he feared that person, or whether it was because he was embarrassed. It added so much to like it's weird to not see the face and still feel that emotion. I think that was genius. I think that was really well done. Yeah, I didn't know anything about it going in other than it was first person. But like again, it had so much heart. Like the moment in the photo booth, I thought was lovely. Like that really stood out as like a bit of peace in a horrible film. not horrible as in like the subject matter. It was a phenomenal. It was a great film. It was a phenomenal film. But like, yeah, it was nice to have those moments where the characters had a bit of peace.
Mhm.
Yeah, loved it.
Absolutely. Substance, Collie.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to what we were saying about the director. It's great that a film like that's been recognized not just in the kind of technical like makeup side of things, but in Best Picture. The two main performances were fantastic. Just it's weird to say that a film that like that is like a really good looking film, but like the colors really pop and it's really just eye catching, and then it's absolutely disgusting as well. But it's weird again to come back to the kind of shrimp eating and that's the most disgusting bit of it almost. But yeah, just brilliant film and kind of an interesting message about Hollywood's interest in the aesthetic beauty of people and there's an expiry date for people.
I think that's it. It's quite on the nose in terms of message, like to a point, but then also it's kind of also not like it's not like straight up sort of thing. But I think the message is great. I think the message also applies to Hollywood in here, but can also apply to just beauty standards in general, like across the population. So I really loved that it did that. And again, as I said, with the director taking the big swing of like showing us everything and being so brutal and disgusting, and yeah, I think it's a phenomenal film. And Todd, I think you said when we got to director as well, it's a fun film as well. Like you genuinely have fun in watching it, and you enjoy watching it, even though it is what it is. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Todd, thoughts on The Substance?
Yeah, like I said, chuffed that this sort of film's been nominated and like the level. And I suppose we didn't really touch on too much. We've talked about them, but like the amount of practical effects in this film, like the behind the scenes stuff of the blood spraying across the audience is amazing. Like I'm so jealous that I wasn't part of that just to see it happen in front of us. Great performances, and it'll be one that will be remembered not just because it was not Oscar nominated, but like because it's like say the message is so strong, performances are so good. Look out for a nomination for a should have backed film next year. That's all I'm saying. Start with this. The snowball is rolling and picking up pace.
Wicked, Collie.
Yeah, brilliant. I think like bringing the stage show to screen was always going to be a tricky task to an extent, but the amount of effort that they put in with the practical stages, the practical work that was then like added to by the VFX, which we kind of touched on yesterday, was great. Lead two performances were brilliant. The musical numbers were kind of directed the way that you kind of envisaged them to be, because obviously like on stage they're limited, but the way that the Defying Gravity was shot, I thought was amazing. Like in and around that tower, and just that shot of her in, like I think I said it yesterday with the VX, but the shot of her in the sky with like her massive cloak and stuff like that was just really, really well done. I don't think like Chu should have been maybe nominated for Best Director because you take one or two of them out and you want maybe Sing Sing and Nickel Boys nominated instead. But if he was there and we would have talked about him, I wouldn't have argued against that either. It's a worthy nomination for Best Picture. I'm glad it's being recognised. I just hope Part 2 lands.
I totally agree. Totally agree. When I first, hands up, when I first saw Chillerfest, and I said to you guys as well, I thought it looked fucking dog shit. I just thought like the CGI stuff wasn't too great. I enjoyed the stage show so much. I was like, I don't know how they can really do this like the way they're doing it. It just looked like one of those, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good film. And again, like Ariana Grande totally blew me away as well. I thought she was phenomenal. Yeah, some of the stuff they did, some of the choices they made were so interesting. And I am same as you. I'm glad it's getting a bit of like notoriety of being one of the best pictures of the year. I think we'll go into ratings, but I think I maybe rated it a bit too harshly, to be perfectly honest, and I gave it a good rating as well. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to part 2 as well. See what they do. Todd.
Yeah, it's not for me. In terms of the staging of it, I know it's a mute, like it's on film. It didn't work for me in terms of like the campiness of the musical. The thing that I can boil it down to, the two people who run up Ariana Grande's ass the entire time, like her little like sycophants behind them. Like they encapsulated what was wrong with that film for me. It was all very over the top, and I know it has to, and I know it's supposed to be. I know that's the style, and that's why I'm saying it doesn't. It just didn't work for me because that really that put me off from the very beginning. And them two being like that, not from the very beginning, but from early doors. It's a really well made film. The musical numbers are really, really well done. And like I said, with absolutely no connection to enjoy Defying Gravity in the way that I did was incredible. But yeah, it's not something I'll revisit. It's not something I'll like. If number 2 or part 2 doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, I likely won't watch it. I likely won't go back and see it unless it's nominated.
But you'd watch Peter Pan because you want to watch the.
Because I want to be angry. It fuels me. Fuels me.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll do our ratings and then we'll finish off with who won and who we think will win. So, ratings for Anora, Collie.
5.
I give it 5. Todd.
5 stars.
Okay, Brutalist, Collie.
4.5.
Todd.
3.
I give it 4.5. A Complete Unknown, Todd.
4.5.
I give it 3.5. Collie.
4.
Conclave, Collie.
4.5.
Todd.
4.5.
4.5 for me as well. Dune Part 2, Collie.
5.
Todd.
5.
Yeah, 5 for me as well. Emilia Perez, Todd.
1.5. Half-star inclusion because there was a Robbie Williams song in it.
1 star for me, Collie.
2.
I'm Still Here, Todd.
5 stars.
4.5 for me, Collie.
4.5 for me.
Nickel Boys, 4.5 for me, Todd.
5 stars.
Collie.
5.
I like to.
I like to.
I like to go to shark.
Substance, Todd.
5 stars.
Collie.
5 stars, yeah.
5 stars for me as well. And then Wicked, Todd.
3.5.
Collie.
4.5.
As between 4 stars. Okay, interesting. Right, so the final one. Who do you want to win? Who do we think will win? Collie starts off.
Nora for both.
Great. Todd?
I want an aura, but I think because I haven't had it recognised elsewhere, I think The Brutalist will win it. I think it'll be an Oscar darling.
I want Dune Part 2, but I think The Brutalist will do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought me saying June Part 2
Yeah.
goes without saying.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cliche, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I think like the only snub out of that
Oh,
would
snub,
have
sorry,
been Sing Sing would have been
Yeah.
like, a worthy nomination, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Who would you take out from that for Sing Sing?
Maybe Anora.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, that is us done with our Oscar. This is part 2. Obviously, if you haven't watched part 1, please do. Guys, are you excited to find out who wins and what happens, if there's any surprises here or there? Are you guys, I don't think you're going to be watching, are you? You said maybe.
I'm not going to be up for it.
I won't be staying up for it now.
No.
It's not Oppenheimer last year.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm super excited for
Although
this.
if they perform the Cock and Balls song from Emilia Perez on it, I'll be gutted. I didn't watch
There's
that.
going to be, they're doing no original songs apparently.
What a shame.
Yeah, I know. Conan O'Brien though. Conan O'Brien will be.
I'll definitely be watching, like, if not highlights
Yeah.
of it, the full thing, like the next day or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, but guys, that is us done for another year. I'm really excited. I love these sorts of episodes that we do. Just a reminder that our next one, the next episode that we're going to be doing, is on the one and the only, my choice, Shane Black. So the films we'll be going through for Shane Black is the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Iron Man 3, The Nice Guys, and then it's not the good Predator, is it? It's the shit Predator.
The Predator.
The Predator, yeah. I'm excited for that one. But yes, thank you so much for watching, listening. Again, if you are on Spotify, if you're on YouTube, please follow us. Please like and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts for the Oscars. Who you think will win, who you want to win, and we will have a lovely discussion. But guys, thank you so much, and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
See you in a bit. Thank you.